And what about romantically, like for romantic relationships? Because you do
Oh,
synastry.
I do
We
synastry.
barely talked about it, but that's one of your specialties, and it's
Yeah, the
great.
synastry is the overlay of two charts.
Yeah.
And so romantically, I just want to write this in sky letters in the sky for people. Because even on dating apps, I hear that they use your sun sign, and people are like, I'm a Virgo, they're a Libra, we're not a good match. I'm like, no, 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 it's your moon sign. The
Mm.
moon sign is how you emotionally react. So the sun sign is the character you play to the world. Who your friends know, who your family knows. I know you're a Libra, but your moon sign represents who you become when you're intimate, when you're close, when you're behind closed doors with someone. And we want our soulmate, moon, not our ego mate, sun.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
really you want to know the moon sign of someone, which you can get without their time of birth.
Hello and welcome to the Soul Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Kat Fowler, and I'm super excited to bring this week's episode to you all about astrology. It was a super fun conversation. Time flew by. We talked about the light and the shadow, the light and the dark of each sign, and how that manifests. And that was the primary focus. But then we go all sorts of places about relationships because my guest this week also does synastry and relational astrology. And so that was supposed to be the primary focus. It ended up being a minor focus, but the conversation was super fascinating. And I think it'll be a really helpful tool for anyone listening to see where am I with my sign? Am I in the positive aspect? Am I oscillating towards the negative aspect? And it'll give a little perspective on you and also the people closest to you in your life. So, Stephanie Powers, she is an international astrologer, host of the Astrology Lounge podcast, and the voice behind the soulful Substack, Ask the Morning. But before all of this, she was a certified holistic health coach and worked at a corporate health insurance company. She first entered the wellness space after experiencing thyroid autoimmunity of her own and healing it completely through natural remedies. She subsequently enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Her dedication to natural healing evolved towards the metaphysical and inspired her to launch a spiritual podcast called Lightworkers Lounge, which has increasingly shifted towards astrological teachings, and in January 2025 officially became the Astrology Lounge. Stephanie published a self-help moon journal called It's Just a Phase in 2022, and today writes personal essays for Substack and conducts an array of chart readings for clients all over the world, as well as offers educational resources to encourage others to expand their understanding of astrology. So I absolutely love this conversation. We do get kind of personal, but I think you will enjoy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode, and I will see you at the end of the show. All right. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I'm super happy to talk to you again. It's been so long.
Hi, Kat. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. So you have been through a lot of changes recently. The last
Yeah.
time we talked, I was a guest on your podcast, um, and you've rebranded the podcast, the very
Yeah.
successful one, and you are now like living in a beautiful location, which is an extension of your business. So, do you want to share a little bit about who you
Yeah.
are and the astrology work that you
Yeah.
do, which is fantastic, and then some of the changes that have happened over the
Thank
last few
you.
years? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a professional astrologer, which is still so cool to say. And being here in Texas, when you tell people I'm an astrologer, they say, "Oh, down at NASA in Houston?" And I love to say, "Yeah, that's right." It's so fun. But no, I got my start in this because I hosted a podcast called Lightworkers Lounge, which was an extension of my holistic health coach practice. I used to work with women that have thyroid disorders one on one, and it was the acupuncture, the diet. But then I very quickly realized that I could have a client that had the perfect diet, very fit, worked out all the time, drank their gallon of water, but it wouldn't touch a thing. And then they would have sisters who were very unhealthy, very overweight, smoking cigarettes on their fourth, fifth child. And we were like, what is going on here? And so through those sessions with clients, I understood that it's energy.
Mhm.
Energy is such, you can eat all the greens, work out every day, but if your mind and your energy is imbalanced, not much is going to change in the physical. I think that's why they call it a physical disbalance. ease, disease,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
dis-ease of energy. And so
Mm-hmm.
from that, I'm like, this is so interesting that if I just help someone leave a toxic relationship, leave a job that's just draining their soul, all of a sudden their thyroid gets right back into balance. Wow, this is really easy.
Mm.
So from that, I just wanted to share on a podcast stories about energy and synchronicity and spirit. But at the time I started Lightworkers Lounge in 2018, I went through a divorce myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I kept trying to record podcasts about repeating numbers, spirit animals, but I just felt like I'm being a fraud. People can feel, they can sense something is wrong. There's heaviness in my voice. So I'm
Mm.
just going to leave the courthouse and record an episode about what it's like to be 29 years old going through a divorce. I
Mm.
was in an Airbnb out in Conifer, Colorado, looking at the sunset, and I just closed my eyes and I hit record. Talked about what it's like to break up with someone you knew since third grade. Oh, it
Wow.
was so weird. And I haven't listened to that episode to this day, but that's what got Lightworkers Lounge on the map. The episode went
Crazy.
viral. And how I got from that to the Astrology Lounge is I had Deborah Silverman on my podcast, and along with many other astrologers,
Mm-hmm.
and I would talk to them after the recordings for hours and I would stay in touch. And I was like, this is incredible. And then Deb said, do you want to take my applied astrology course? And I said, yes. And it just came so easy to me. My mentors in that school were like, have you done this before? I said, no, this is the first time I've ever read a chart. And I just think you got to go where your energy flows, what comes naturally and effortlessly to you. So took it and ran, and the podcast slowly turned into being 100% about astrology, and I rebranded January 2025. And
Wow.
here we are, booked calendar of readings all the way through September.
There you go.
Oh, it's incredible.
Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. So I love what you said in the beginning about healing, because I remember my moment was similar where I was in a relationship, which you know about. You did our
Mm-hmm.
charts at the time, which was not very healthy. And then I was seeing an acupuncturist because I had crazy anxiety towards the end. It's like my soul was like, get out, of this situation.
Oh,
And I remember I would go to acupuncture 2 to 3 times a week. And she at some point handed me this like paper with, because they have herbs. She was also an herbalist. And it was basically saying, you can do this as many times a week as possible, but if you don't remove the pathogen, the toxin, the thing that's creating the imbalance within your body, you're just going to be fighting to get to neutral, as opposed to removing the pathogen, the
yeah.
toxin, whatever it may be that's like creating this irritation, this imbalance, this anxiety. And that was my moment. That was like, I read that paper and that I was like, it's literally on paper. I'm like, how did I not see it? And then and I had no plan. And then that's when I like just blew up my life and that relationship of 6 years
Yeah.
that day. I was like, yeah, my health is more important, my mental health, my energy. And so I love what you just said about that with the thyroid, because that's such a thing that happens to like mainly women. It's all mainly women that we deal with this.
Yep.
Like it's 80% of autoimmune is women, not
Yep.
men.
Yep.
So there's such a epidemic of suppressing our emotions that may be deemed as negative just to keep the status quo because that's what we've been taught, but it's energetically still there. And
So
until we work through our stuff, it's gonna remain there. So I love that you said that. Do you still do coaching like that? Health coaching?
not anymore. I mean, if someone asks during an astrology reading, I geek out like, okay, you want to know about gluten? How to heal your gut?
No, but I
Yeah.
love what you said about like food. Like you could be eating all the right thing and then
Yeah.
the other person that's not is fine. And it's totally
Yeah.
like looking at what's actually in your life and what's actually creating the issue.
Yeah.
So fascinating. And let's talk about synastry for a little bit
Synastry.
because
Yeah.
I loved your readings. You've done, I think,
Thank
two for
you.
me, maybe. I
Yes.
think,
Yep.
yeah, birth chart
Yep.
and then a synastry. And I just remember, so I've done Eastern and Western astrology,
Yep.
and I found that your reading was really, really good because it was
Oh,
very, well, you're just a positive person. And I
thank you.
think you also need that, right? Like, 'cause sometimes astrologers, with the information that they see, depending on their own perspective, can kind of, the same exact chart read by two different people, you can hear two very different things because of the way that they interpret the results, the way that they personally have a view on things. Even if you went to the same school as someone else and you had all the same background training, and you saw the same chart, you would interpret it differently. And I loved your reading. I thought it was so accurate. So it was uplifting and positive and not, scary. But so what is synastry for someone that's hearing this word for the first time as an astrologer? And then we'll get into just some little details on it.
I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
you're so right when you talk about astrology and even sometimes psychic readings, tarot
Yes.
readings, these things can get scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, one of the other reasons why I changed the podcast name from Lightworkers Lounge to Astrology Lounge is because I didn't like being associated with that industry.
Mm.
Astrology says that spirituality, astrology, all the things truly became an industry,
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic. And
Yes.
I started to have so many clients speak on getting scammed during readings, leaving astrology readings terrified. I can't
Mm.
tell you how
Mm.
many clients paid tens of thousands of dollars to go on retreats with people only to be in the background of TikTok videos and content and not get anything of value from it.
Man.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be associated with that. Lightworkers Lounge
Mm.
will always be the umbrella. It's still my LLC. It's not going anywhere because that came to me through meditation. But
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just thought, wow, this is a true responsibility as someone who is reading your soul's blueprint. Whenever I get a new chart, I picture this person willingly saying, let me unzip my head and my heart, and you just get to come right in. It's very
Mm. Mm-hmm.
vulnerable. It's a soul's blueprint. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you for pointing that out. That was such a high compliment from you that
Mm.
I do swerve on the more optimistic side because I do see really challenging things in a chart all the time. I have it in my
Mm-hmm.
own chart. You
Mm-hmm.
get to look at it one or two ways. Oh, my chart says I'm going to have a lot of rainy days, a lot of hurricanes coming in my life. Am I going to dance in the rain? Am I going to enjoy the rebuilding process? Or am I just going to fear it and say, oh my God, I'm too tired?
Right.
Both ways.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So in synastry, which is what you and I worked with, we overlay two charts. We see the strengths and the weaknesses in a connection. And then there's another thing called composite, which is where you take two charts, blend them together to make one, and talk about what is the purpose of us? What are
Mm.
our strengths? But also, what do we need to watch out for? How might this relationship end? Some
Mm.
people don't like to know that. I like to know that for my own relationship because when I see us going that way, which happens a lot, like every human connection does, I immediately plant the seed of okay, we got to put it in reverse and back up because I know where this road leads.
Is that like looking at transits? That what is it, composite chart?
Yeah, it's a composite chart. So when you take two charts, blend them together, you'll look at house number 12, the last house, the
Mm.
final house. You'll see if there's any placements in there, which might indicate how a relationship may end.
Mm.
Like, for example, let's just use my partner and I. We have Mars and Gemini in our 12th house. So that tells me when we start to use fighting Mars words, Gemini, like getting ugly,
Mm-hmm.
that's where this relationship permanently ruptures. So as soon as I notice, nervous systems getting high with us, and both of us are twin Scorpio moon. So boy, do we get passionate when we believe we're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll always say, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's have one of us leave. Let's calm this Mars and Gemini in the 12th house down. Right. So that's how we utilize composite for charts as well. And I do a lot of parent child composites too. It's really cool.
Interesting. So how, did we do that? Is that something
I
we did?
think we might have. I think we
Okay.
touched on yours, but we really dove deep into your synastry.
I remember just being like, because this was like the craziest karmic relationship of my life, like karmic, 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 like the definition of a karmic partner kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
remember at one point being like, what do you see? Because it's just me and you. And I was like, do you think this is marriage? Do you think this and that? And you were like, well, you guys are, we were the sister signs, Aries, Libra,
Yeah.
right? And you were like, and you were like, well, whether it stays together or not, you will always leave a mark on each other's life, that kind of thing. And I mean, it was so accurate. And it's like I knew deep down where it was going, but it was almost like, let me hear it in the chart, just as confirmation. But I wasn't ready until I had my moment, which, I talked to you earlier about.
Always.
So, how does that show up? So, when you're looking at charts, what is a good marker of like, this is a really good, healthy relationship? And what are some markers of like, this is a very karmic relationship that potentially is very challenging.
Mhm.
And what do you do if someone's already married in one of those?
Oh, if someone's already married. Oh,
Uh-huh.
like where there's an affair.
No, meaning like they're married and it's a very karmic relationship and it's not
Oh,
necessarily, yeah, like the real
oh,
soulmate, the good one.
this is so good. So
Juicy.
good. It's so juicy. I would say a Scorpio rising is one of those relationships and the composite chart where
Hmm.
two people just they have to accept that they are going to go through multiple deaths and rebirths, deaths and rebirths. They must watch out for being
Hmm.
controlling, jealous, possessive. They've got to dive into those super strong emotions towards each other. They have to bring awareness to, yeah, I am pretty jealous, or yeah, I do struggle with being obsessive. But Scorpio rising tends to be one. A lot of water sign risings, Pisces rising, Cancer rising in the composite. And there are markers, and I'm not going to say it out loud. It's going to freak people out, but there are markers that would indicate
Okay.
relationships are just so that some of them are so difficult to define. They're boundaryless, so to speak. And that would be a lot of 12th house placements. But it's
Mm,
interesting because I've seen married couples, like you just mentioned, who have been together 20, 30 years, who have all of those markers. And I'm like, how did you do it? And then
mm,
there's just so many other things to pull into the chart. It's truly user experience. It kind of boils down to in astrology school, I would always raise my hand and say, hey, how do you explain identical twins?
yeah.
Have the same exact birth charts,
Mm,
yet present themselves totally different.
hmm.
Ooh, every single placement in a birth chart is like a fork in the road. Let's say we have an Aquarius sun and two twins. One can go the route of, I'm the life of the party. I love being around people. My community is my family. My friends are my family. The other goes down the black sheep, the disempowered side of, nobody gets me. Nobody likes me. I give up on the world. And then from there, they go towards their moons differently, their
Mhm.
Mercuries differently, and they become two different people. So it's like nature versus nurture.
I know. With the case of twins, though,
Yeah.
it's like the nurture is the same too for the most part.
Yes,
So
it's
that's what's
very wild.
fascinating, right? It's just, well, for me, it's like, okay, they're different souls. It's like two different
Oh,
souls, two different bodies. They shared the womb experience, so they have a major telepathic connection, but it's different
major.
souls, even with the same chart, the same map.
Hmm.
But I love what you were saying about that, like basically the light and the shadow of every sign,
Yep.
right? Like each sign has the potentiality of manifesting in a really positive way with their positive attributes or the negative way.
Yep.
So, I mean, this isn't astrology school, but maybe if you'd like, if you could share a little bit about some of the typical manifestations like light and shadow that you may see with the basic 12 signs.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's start with
Mainly for
Lee.
listeners. So if they're listening and they know, like, this is my sign, this is my rising, they can get a sense of, like, oh, I didn't realize I was operating in this level, or oh, I'm
The shadows.
mastering this pretty well. Yeah.
Well, let's just use Libra for
Girl, let me just
example.
say I am Libra, Libra moon, Libra sun, but in my Vedic chart, I am Virgo, like a Virgo stellium, and then I'm also a Scorpio rising in my Vedic chart.
Oh, which one do you resonate with more?
Honestly, it depends. I kind of Eastern. I feel like my 20s, I was 100% a Sagittarius rising my whole life. Like adventure, my passport book was full. I needed another one. Like that was so typical. Now it's like I feel like I've shifted more to the Eastern where I'm like, Virgo, Scorpio, which is so freaking different. The
Yeah.
energy.
And
But
then
yeah.
there's in Western, there's a Placidus chart, which is the kind you and I looked at. And then there's the whole sign chart. That's what a lot of popular astrology apps will use. So a lot of my clients say, which one do I use? Because this
Mhm.
whole sign completely changes my chart. One of my
Mhm.
mentors said, two languages can speak the same truth.
Totally. Because, yeah, because your synastry reading,
Yeah.
like I said, was super on point.
Yeah.
Super on point. And that, like, if I
Yeah.
got the same thing with the Vedic, all the signs would be different, but
Yeah.
it was very similar to that. So
Yeah.
I agree. Totally.
Yes. And in astrology, we all carry all 12
Yes.
of the signs within us. Just because we were born, the sun is filtering through the constellation Sagittarius or Libra.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean we don't
Hmm.
carry any Cancer, Capricorn, Aries within us. It
Hmm.
just shows and reveals itself in different parts of the chart.
Hmm.
Astrology is like a beautiful religion. I understand why some people think it's cult-like or just are turned off by it. And I always say astrology is something you experience, not something you believe in. So if you don't believe it, that's cool. You haven't had an
Hmm.
experience with the moon yet, and that's fine. I'm not going to force anyone into it. But it truly is like a religion, but it's more of a mutable religion because you get to decide, well, that doesn't resonate with me, but that really does.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
probably needed that message in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
All it
Mm-hmm.
is. I love how free it is. You can decide. I'm sick of astrology. I've been diving too into. I'm going to take a break from it. Come back to it when you're ready. There are no rules,
Mm-hmm.
guidelines, and how to do it properly. It's really
Mm-hmm.
cool. But
Yeah.
we wanted to talk about the
Yes,
empowered,
the
and
light
this
and
is
the dark. Yes.
well. Okay, we'll talk about Libra first.
Let's do it.
Lovely Libras, or the other street name is lying Libras. And I always
Ooh.
feel so bad for saying that about lovely Libras. But the lying nickname comes from Libras just want peace.
People
And they're
please.
willing to lie for it. They're willing to say, no, I'm fine. I'm doing great. No, I'm good. You want to
Mm.
go there? Me too. It's fine. When deep down they're like, mother effer, I don't want to do that. I hate this. I'm so uncomfortable here. This is so not who I am.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So lovely Libra comes from it's the scales. They want balance. The empowered side of Libra is truly they are cardinal air signs, so they'll initiate conversations that bring peace.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to talk. A Libra is so easy to work with because if you can talk it out and let them take the lead, give them their power back, ask them how they're feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
give them a safe space to share it so they don't feel the need to lie, to hide from your very Aries wild style reaction. They're the
Mm-hmm.
best. But
Mm-hmm.
disempowered, yes, how many Libras say, I'm confused. I don't know. My scales.
Right.
But I'll break the ice with Libras. You guys are actually one of the number one signs that do know. Mutable air is Gemini. Gemini is the one that truly is like, I don't know. Yes, no, black, white. Ah,
Mm-hmm.
Cardinal is a leader sign. Libra initiates a new season. So
Mm-hmm.
these are signs that actually, you know what, I do know. And as soon as I say that's my choice, they're badass. I always say Libras are gangster.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are strong. You're resilient,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the disempowered side is you become who you're with,
The
or you,
codependency.
the codependency.
Yeah.
You guys love so hard, friends, romantically too. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'll just lose a little bit of myself
Mm-hmm.
to maintain this relationship. And then you guys kind of wake up one day going, why am I sick? Why am I pissed? Why am I angry? Why
Mm-hmm.
am I speaking like this to myself and then to other people? This is not me. I'm a lovely Libra. What happened? You just kind of give yourself away to so many
Mm-hmm.
people and then they just take because they don't even realize what's going on. Have you experienced that?
Well, of course. That's why I left that relationship I was in for so many years after being engaged. I just was like, I can't do it anymore. Yeah.
Yes.
And then
And
that was the awakening. And then I think that's when I stepped more into my Virgo Scorpio energy. Like,
there you go.
yeah.
All right. Or the Sagittarius rising, which is okay, now I want to speak and teach about that experience because
I
I didn't go
haven't
through that
spoken
one.
much about it. I just feel like
Yeah.
I wanted to, yeah, I'm sharing with you because you've done my chart and I think it can be
Yeah.
helpful because a lot of people have been through
Yeah.
that
Relationships are hard nowadays.
situation.
From what I hear from clients, like, holy cow, what is going on out there?
I wouldn't know. I've been a celibate monk for like 3 years, so I have no idea.
I always tell my partner, like, hey, if we break up, like that's solid. I'm not becoming a parent. I'm getting a cat. I'm gonna live on a cottage by the sea, and I will nobody will know me unless they stop by my cottage.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like it has to happen organically, like at least for
Yes.
me. And I feel including like meeting, like that's why I'm not doing any apps. I intentionally have hermited myself in a way, but so many women have like
Yeah.
for years. It's like people used to think that's weird or not normal. It's like I think it's okay. Like, I think when you're healed or when you're working on your healing and the right time comes up, you will meet organically. Like it will happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not in any way searching for that because I've seen all the things online with like basically the reversal of polarity with men and women and feminine and masculine energies. And I'm like, I'm
No,
not doing
I think you and I
that.
follow the same guy on Christian Walker.
Oh, I love him. He's hilarious.
Hilarious, yet also I'm like, where were you when I was 18? Oh
Mm,
my gosh. I love
mhm.
him. He's
Yeah, I remember I
incredible.
saw your comment. I was like, oh, she follows him too. So
I can't get enough of him. Oh my goodness. I'm like, I think I said, will you please make a podcast? I need you to scream at me for 30 minutes a day.
that's like all the comments. Every woman's like, just keep going. Just yell at me every morning or remind
We
me.
need his birth chart. I bet he's a Leo, or I bet he's got Libra in there too. because
Oh,
he's so good. But the things he
yeah.
says are so accurate.
Or Aries, like it's just super.
In your face,
Yeah,
fiery,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And confident.
yeah.
Gosh. Well, for Capricorns, the empowered side is you guys are the sea mermaids. It's the goat and the mermaid. So these are the masters of manifestation. An
Mm.
empowered Capricorn gives up today's temptation for tomorrow's reward. They know that I don't need to look left or right and compare myself. I stay in my lane, and their first house is their dream house. They meet someone, and that is their life partner. They wait, they have it.
Mhm.
Disempowered Capricorn is, of course, the workaholic, and they can be so cold that they don't have passions. They don't let love in. They just struggle to feel, and they're overworked, overburdened, and they parent everyone they're around because they're just
Mhm.
trying to gain this form of control. But oh, that's Capricorn. Now,
Mhm.
Aquarius, I love Aquarius. Empowered, these are the people who have the best friends. They truly are humanitarians. They have no problem with the revolving door in their house. They're never alone. Disempowered, they are the black sheep. They isolate themselves. They truly
Mhm.
are too afraid to go outside because of all the conspiracies they look up on the internet.
This is so crazy because I knew one person who was like a lot of Aquarius, and this is them to a T.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to think about that. Oh,
And they are geniuses. They really don't recognize it. They always have like a stoic look. They really have a poker face to them. But if you're lucky enough to see what's in there, I always say their brains are like Lisa Frank posters. They have so many colors and vivid inventions. And Aquarius people are truly who I go to ask, what do you think I should do with this? We have some
yeah.
cedar stumps on our property. And I was like, what should we could make something, but I have no idea. I called my Aquarius mom, like, look at these stumps. What should I? She just spits out all these things I would never think of.
That's
I'm like,
funny. That's
Mom, you should
funny.
do this. No, there's already so many people out there who are better.
Yeah,
You
they're
can
like ahead of their
do
time in a way. Yeah, because I
that.
remember she was clairvoyant, but she was also living pretty much off grid, which before that was like a thing. Before like prepping and homesteading and stuff became like a thing on Instagram. Like she was
Oh
doing
my
that.
gosh. I
So,
love it. That's
yeah.
your fellow air sign, Libras and Aquarians.
Mm.
They just love each other. You can share anything with them. That's the empower side of an Aquarius. You can share anything. The word weird like doesn't exist in their vocabulary. Did
Mm.
you find that with her?
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm like that, and I felt like they were like that to another level. So I was like, okay.
I, that's the
Now I'm not the
disempowered
weird
side where you're like, hey, we need to take baths and we need to have running water. Like it's okay.
one.
But they're just so F the government. I'm getting off of the
Yes.
grid. No
Yeah. Yeah.
5G. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, okay, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But it's okay to come to a grocery store.
Hmm.
Now, Pisces, oh, I'm just going down like January, February, March.
Hmm.
Pisces empowered understands unconditional love. Like we were talking about with karmic relationships.
Hmm.
Pisces on their good side, they really understand that you can love someone without possessing them, that
Hmm.
you can leave a relation. Two things can be true, and they understand this with everything.
Hmm.
Pisces is a very sweet one, and they recognize how talented they are, like with the arts, singing, songwriting, painting, dancing. These guys are so good. They truly channel something to create. Now, disempowered Pisces needs to escape. I call it frequency shifters, drugs, alcohol, sex, food, social media. You know that
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
trance you get in when you're scrolling through social media to just
Hmm.
kind of that's them all the time on their disempowered side. So they have to watch out for feeling, whoa, this frequency, this realm is too heavy. I need some sugar. I need to go have sex with someone to feel something. I need to go on social media and just aimlessly scroll. And then they get fatigued and down and down and down we go.
Is that because the emotions are just too much, or is it more like
Yes.
is
Yeah, they're
yeah.
mutable water. So they
Hmm.
truly are the empaths of the zodiac. And so they are
Hmm.
consistently this beam collecting energies and emotions of everyone around them. I always tell heavy Pisces people, wear a hat. Just wear any kind of hat you want when you go into a grocery store, when you're driving, when you're in the city, because you need to protect this from absorbing everything around you.
Interesting. And I mean, this is totally a side note, but is it true, or do you think that Jesus was a Pisces?
Oh my gosh. The
I
Bible
know we're
has
gonna go.
12 disciples. I know. I so many people are afraid to tell me they're Christian. I'm like, why? I love religion and spirituality. I think to follow anything and have faith in anything you can't prove is real is so beautiful.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
beautiful. And Wow. What do they say? Jesus was born a Capricorn or reborn as an Aries, but then there's things
Oh,
that
yeah.
say he was actually a Pisces. So,
Right.
yeah, I would say from what I know, because I wasn't even baptized, my Aquarius mom was like, you are not going into religious areas.
Mm,
So, probably from what I hear, I would imagine that is very Piscean energy, the self-sacrifice,
hmm
forgive people for their sins. That's very Piscean, right? A
hmm
lot of people who are probably between 30 and 32 right now, they just had their first Saturn return in Pisces. And so a lot of their karmic lesson is to set boundaries. A lot of them either struggle with those drugs, alcohol, sex, addiction to things,
hmm
addiction to red flags in people. I see the
hmm
good, let me fix them. Or that's the other side is they went through their Saturn return and realized where, hey, I'm 30 years old. I thought I would be, I don't know, married with kids, all those human
hmm
things. But
hmm
they recognized where being the savior for others that usually had mental health struggles, addiction to substances. A lot of
hmm
people with Saturn and Pisces right now, they jump in as the savior. Like, here, let me help you. But
hmm
that stunted their own growth. So they may be going through a period where they're like, holy crap, I got to get rid of those people. And it hurts because we want to save them. We don't like to let people go that are struggling, but they're drowning us in their own waters. And who's going to heal the healer here? So they're
hmm
moving on from that and kind of starting fresh.
hmm
So that's the Pisces archetype
mm Makes
right
perfect
there.
sense. Yeah.
Ah, and now we move on to Aries. What do you think of Aries, Cat?
Don't even ask. No, I'm just kidding.
Your
I will
favorite?
say, I will say, I will say, in my Western chart, my North node is Aries, right? So like I look to that sign now as like this is where you want to be. So any part of me that's like still in any way resistant towards sometimes the a little bit of the narcissistic qualities of that sign, I feel like I'm like, no, this is like you need to get there in this life to do what you have to do. So that's how I look at Aries now.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a little less charged.
I know, I know. And of course, as an astrologer, I have my own personal biases. I'm human with
Right.
my own experiences with the signs. I have to push aside. And I know Aries is a spicy one. It really is. Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. So they say these are fresh souls, their first time around on earth in a human body. And they're like, whoa, I have thumbs. I can grip things. Oh my gosh, there's seasons and I can go outside and play on rocks and in the ocean. And they're
Mhm.
just go, go, go. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, especially women, we really succumb to the societal norms and standards. And I love giving Aries dominant women. And when I say Aries dominant, I mean Aries sun, Aries moon,
Mhm.
Aries rising, first house stellium, the permission slip to say, hey, if you don't want to be a parent in this lifetime, that's right on par with your chart. Of course, you can be. You'll just have to
Mhm.
probably prioritize partner that says, okay, I will prioritize. You get to go do what you want when you want. Have a
Mhm.
community to grab those kids, the self sacrificing that'll come with those that Aries are not known for. But I give them the permission slip to say, hey, you don't have to get married. Whoa, what a concept. You don't have to. You don't have to have kids.
Mhm.
You can literally choose to live this entire life doing what you want, when you want, where you want. And you
Mm.
can be happy and healthy and fulfilled without all of those things like marriage and children that society kind of pounds into you from the early days of Disney movies. And they
Right, right, right.
love it. They
Mm.
absolutely love it. Like I see them take the biggest, deep breath of relief.
Mm.
Wow, this is nice. And then I have other older Aries women clients who are like, man, I wish I had you when I was younger because I have three kids and I am never having kids in the next life, in the next life, in the next life. I'm not doing this again. Like, hey, you are validated for saying that you love your children, but you don't
Mhm.
like being a parent. I think that is
Mhm.
such a cool thing to say. So,
Mhm.
empowered Aries of all is a leader,
Mhm.
confident individual. The reason why they're the sister, which means they're simply opposite in the sky to Libra, is Libra becomes the other. Aries says,
Mhm.
I will tell you, you want to go out here for dinner? No. Do you want to go rock climbing? Not interested. Libra's like, oh my gosh, can you just say yes and like something I like? And they're like, I don't though. So why would I lie to you?
Mhm. Mhm.
They're spicy. They're very big energy. They're cardinal fire. So these are my warriors, my athletic people.
Mhm.
No is their favorite word and they love to use it.
Kind of like a toddler. No, I'm just
Kind of
kidding.
like a toddler. They are one. I always liken the signs to numbers. They're number one. So what does a 1-year-old act like when you take the knife out of their hand?
Mm. Mhm.
You're like, you don't understand. You're gonna hurt yourself. Now,
Mhm.
disempowered Aries. Oh, it gets heavy with these guys. Disempowered Aries is violence. Like, let's just put it what it is. It's anger. It's uncontrolled anger, especially Aries moons tends, the moon is how you emotionally react to things.
Mm-hmm.
Aries placements are just when they feel like their individuality is being challenged, or if they don't have a healthy relationship with the emotion anger,
Mm-hmm.
oh, spicy, inflamed. These people get migraines, TMJ in their jaw. They do get a lot of head injuries because they're just so hot. They run so hot.
That's
So,
funny. And I will say, like, by violent, that can also be emotional. Like, you can
yes,
be with
that's what I meant,
someone,
really. It can be
yeah,
physical, but
like it could be
usually,
physical, but I think sometimes people don't realize like abuse is abuse, whether it's physical or emotional
yep.
in that way. So, yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah. See, it is. It's a very heavy sign
Yeah.
to be around. It's challenging. And they just have to recognize that they are here to fight for the underdog, right? They're the sister
Yeah.
of Libra. They are here to say, hey, Libra, I understand we are polar opposites, but you can teach me to be more like giving and understanding and compassionate, working with the other. But I
Hmm.
can teach you how to not have fear in the face of conflict, how to say
Hmm.
no, have someone say, well, you're a bitch, and be like, yeah, I guess I am. I'm choosing myself this.
Yeah.
Right? That's how they could be sisters and work together. But
Hmm.
disempowered, it's kind of, I'm sure you've heard of like the empath and the narcissist, how
Uh,
they are two puzzle pieces that fit. It's like they fit
hmm.
each other,
Hmm.
the avoidant and the anxiously attached.
Hmm.
That is Aries and Libra as well. So
Hmm.
Aries disempowered loves a disempowered Libra because they feel powerful. They feel
Hmm.
almighty. They're like, oh, I can constantly use my anger or my just all about me things. And you're just, okay, yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, can we, so just to pause here, like, so basically there is that theory, it's called reincarnational astrology, right? Where it's like Aries is like, it's saying like the journey of the soul is basically when you go through the signs, it's
Yep.
that soul's evolution of like you go through each one potentially, and that's
Yep.
where your level of evolution is. So do you believe in that? Do you think that's true or accurate? Like,
I think so. And the reason why is because, almost 2000 readings later, I don't even really read text because I just get the information. I collect the data real time from people
mm,
living these things.
mm,
And Pisces is known as the sign of the old soul. It's the last sign, it's the
mm,
spiritual sign. And it's said in astrology texts that when you're born or incarnated as a Pisces sun, this is your last go around in a series, meaning you've
mm,
already lived a life as an Aries, you've lived a life as a Taurus, as a Libra, as a Virgo. This is your last go around, which is
mm,
why they are known to be tired a lot because they're like, really, I got to do this again. Oh my God.
yeah, yeah.
And Aries is known as being the first. And when I ask Pisces or Aries, do you feel like you're just excited and there's so many new things? They're like, yeah, I always want to start this business, start that hobby, go here. There's so much to do. I'm never
Mm,
bored. I ask
mm.
Pisces, hey, do you feel like you've been here many a times before? And they're like, yes. And I don't know why I chose to come back at this time.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
all say that. And I'm like, okay, this is my first question out the gate. And I don't even need to give them context. They're like, yeah, I've been here many times.
That's interesting. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't ever asked that in my records or, I don't look at people's signs when I read them for the records, but I have found like some very old souls in different signs. And so that's why I'm like, it's possible, but I also know with like enlightenment, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
moksha, just like literally finishing all of your karma and meeting God in
Yep.
this life, like it's possible for any sign. So I
Any.
do feel like I totally get the theory in a psychological sense of like
Yep.
evolvement of maturity, but
Yep.
I don't know fully, and I'm not saying it's not
Yeah.
possible, but I
Yeah.
haven't ever looked into it as to like the actual soul's age. And let's just say you're a Pisces and you had all this stuff you had to take care of and you didn't. So that means you're coming back as an Aries. That sucks. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Have fun.
Well, that's a lot because
I
it's like you're going
know.
back into this psychological lens that's completely new, but maybe
I started
that
over.
is the journey. I don't know.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
wonder, I do honestly wonder if souls bounce around instead of going through that wheel. If like you come as a Sag and then your next life you're a Taurus and your
You're
next life
Taurus.
you're a Pisces. Do you know what I mean?
Or does it go in order? Will
That's
I
what I'm
be a
saying.
like as a Sag sun here? Would I be a Capricorn my next life?
That's
Ugh.
that's what I mean. Like I wonder because I know because how do you compare that to like the North and South node where they say your South node is the
Exactly.
past karma
And then I
life?
always say the soul sign is actually your moon sign.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So that is a really good question. And yes, the South Node indicates the type of climate or the type of character, not necessarily the sign you were in a past life, but just the
Mm,
energy, the archetype
mm,
of energy. Like I have a Virgo South Node, and yes, health coaching and eating and
mhm,
diet of all animals have always been something that I feel a past life connection to. I used to play teacher with my stuffed animals when I was like 4. What
mm,
the heck?
mhm, mhm,
Virgo South Node just
mhm.
resonates. Yeah. So your South Node is in Libra.
And in Vedic, it's also Virgo. So yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. But also I love what you said because in Vedic astrology, you know how in Western we do like the typical horoscope is like check your sun sign, check your rising. In
Yep.
Vedic, it's moon sign. It's always moon. Yeah, so if you want to read your horoscope, you check your moon sign in Eastern
Sign.
astrology.
Ooh, I
Hmm.
like that. I didn't know that.
Which is
I
more
love.
the element of the soul. So I love that you said that. It's
Yeah.
true. It's
I
really,
would say it's the soul.
hmm yeah, it's your
Yeah.
inner you. Totally.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, do you know any Taurus people?
my mom. I got a
Mom's a
VIP
Taurus.
Taurus. Yeah.
I got a Taurus.
Also, one
And
of my
now,
favorite teachers, my yoga teacher, Dharma Mitra, is a Taurus. I think Tauruses can be so awesome.
what do you love about him?
Their stability, their groundedness, she's so grounded. They're all so grounded.
Yeah.
They're disciplined, they're reliable. It's that earthy, like,
Yeah.
they're also like they're earth people.
Of the
Yeah,
earth.
yeah.
Yeah. I did a podcast episode recently inspired by a book I came across here in Austin. And it was, what's my earth sign? Why do we ignore Earth and what constellation it was around when we were born? I was like,
Mm,
wow, that is such a good point. And your earth sign is simply whatever sign is opposite of your sun sign.
mm.
So your earth sign is Aries, which might mean you are here to champion, be a leader for Earth.
You're cracking me up.
Aries will not escape you with that North Node in Aries.
Now I'm
Let me
cackling. Okay.
embody it. Yeah, but the signs that rule Earth is, of course, Taurus.
Mm,
Taurus rules the earth. The empowered Taurus is exactly as you said. These are the oak tree people, I call them.
mhm,
Just so
mhm,
anchored and rooted. And you, I don't know about you, but I genuinely feel like I can just kick my shoes off and relax and be myself around
mhm.
Taurus people.
Totally.
Just so you can go sit in a garden and just let butterflies land on you. And they're so easy.
Hmm.
Now, disempowered Taurus is I'm right, you're wrong. I'm staying home. Don't ask me. It's that stubbornness they
Right.
are notorious for. But
Right.
a lot of people don't understand. They rule the senses, taste, touch,
Hmm.
smell. And so these
Hmm.
people are usually like, yeah, I'm spending $100 on face cream because I like the smell. If I'm rubbing that on my face every day, it better smell good. The
Hmm.
cashmere sweater. I don't like materials that make my skin feel uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
I'm splurging.
Hmm.
But Taurus, this is such an overstimulating world. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I'm a Taurus rising with Jupiter and Taurus conjuncted. I'm a Taurian lady over here.
Love
And
that.
oh my gosh, the sound of loud trucks or motorcycles, leaf blowers. We literally left Key Largo, Florida because there were leaf blowers 24/7, cat, and I couldn't take it. I was going crazy. I'm like, I came here to hear ocean waves, and all I hear is leaf blowers and revving engines on the overseas highway. Do it.
Yeah.
So we have a little Taurus boy. He's my bonus boy. Whenever you use like a coffee grinder or the blender, I'll say, hey, heads up, it's gonna get loud for just a couple
Hmm.
minutes. Okay. And they need that. They need the stability, the certainty, the predictability. And when they don't get it, boy, they're the bulls. They can be mean, they can be stubborn, but it's simply because they haven't relaxed. They don't feel safe. They don't feel certain. But empowered, these are my money makers. They usually make a lot of money because they understand that gets them the things that make their senses happy. But they're also the people that remind you about the little things in life. Is that
Yeah.
is that mama?
I mean, yeah, she's just like nature, like anything she touches will grow. Literally, like she could plant anything from anything, propagate it, anything, the garden. It's just like magic earth connection that not that I don't have that, but not to that level. It's insane. So, do you have that with your farm?
Sometimes. Right now, I have an obsession with hibiscus. So I've got some
Ooh.
beautiful hibiscus blooms next to me.
Love that. You know,
Yeah.
in flower
Oh,
essence work, hibiscus is all about, because I had a big phase with that at some point. I was drinking the tea, I was taking the essence. It's all about healing our or inner teen, like around 12, 13, 14, whenever we went through puberty and our sexuality and healing from any difficult experiences around puberty or sexuality. Yeah. So it's interesting. And
So
root chakra too,
ironic.
right? Because it's like red.
Yes, I was just diving into that myself, thinking about a month or two ago. Oh, I went home to Indiana. You know, when you go
Mhm.
home, you can love your family, but this is going to show you how healed you are.
Yeah.
And I thought, we always talk about inner child. And I was like, I'm pretty sure my inner child's good. She's pretty solid. And I thought, I feel like 13 to 17-year-old me needs a seat at the table for a second.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. It helps you in your field, your the root chakra, and
Yeah.
that was because I was like, why am I so attracted to this flower right now? Because it happens for reasons. Like we don't even know what the flower is, and we'll be like,
No.
oh my God, I'm obsessed. I don't know why. And then I'll do all the research, and then then once I consciously get what it's for, then I actively bring in that healing for it. So I think it's like happening for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Before this, for 5 years, it was jasmine. I could eat jasmine. I loved it so much.
I love jasmine. Jasmine is beautiful. It's working with your feminine energy. It also is very linked to, I don't know if you're into any deities, but like Hanuman, Lord Hanuman, he's a Hindu deity who really is all about strength, like graceful strength and devotion to a higher power. So it's
That's
just like every flower has its beauty. And whenever I do readings, a lot of times, not always, but it's always the more sensitive clients that will get recommendations for flower essence healing. And by sensitive, I don't mean like your skin
yeah.
sensitive to whatever. I mean like energetically sensitive, because then it can really penetrate and permeate your aura a lot quicker.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's
So,
so
and you're
me.
Taurus, so of course that makes
Taurus
sense. You're
rising.
connected with the earth and its beautiful elemental
Yeah.
healing energies. So,
I so resonate with that.
yeah.
That is so ironic that I was
Yeah.
literally I was thinking 17, 13, 17 are ages that came
Hmm.
up. I wasn't
Hmm.
sexually active yet, but I
Hmm.
remember just feeling, I kind of got bullied for it a little bit because I didn't make out with any guys. I didn't touch them. I was a DJ.
I remember you told me
In
that.
my own little business, and I was just a DJ and I loved it. I mean, I had crushed on people, but I was like, ooh, I feel just with sex. A lot of my friends were having sex, and I was like, oh my God, we're 15 years old. We can't even drive a car yet. What are you doing?
But that's what it's about, healing your sexuality, whether it's like the lack of or,
Yeah.
having it. It's like your
Yeah.
feelings and emotions about it that needed to come out.
Oh, yeah. For
So
me, it
that
was
makes
just intimacy. It wasn't necessarily the act of sex, it was intimacy, getting close with
sense.
people.
By the way,
That's
I
all.
love that you said you're a DJ. It's like I feel, are very lucky as millennials that we had the ability to
Yep.
be weird and just do whatever we wanted for our
Yes.
childhood and
Yeah.
not be recorded and not have TikTok and not have beauty standards and like face creams. Like, oh my God. Like my first website, I remember in middle school, I made a website and I had like Pokemon everywhere and I was
Oh my
obsessed
God.
with it, like a total nerd, and I didn't even care. And I just like,
Charizard.
yeah, well, Pikachu, yeah. But yeah. But like I literally am like we were blessed. We were really blessed that
Yes.
social media only came in towards like college for us, really. That's when like
Yeah.
Facebook
Yep.
started. I guess
Yep.
MySpace, but like I feel like we were a little younger for MySpace.
Yeah.
Some of us were on it. We had like AOL, but
And
we didn't
chat
have
rooms.
like Instagram, Facebook, like
No.
pictures, comparison,
Yeah.
influencers, like you got to be a DJ.
You got to be a
You
DJ. And I didn't think twice about I had taught myself. It was with turntables, like
know?
real actual instruments. Now people just use their laptop and press the keyboard. I'm like, come on, like you
Oh my
gotta
God.
scratch.
I love that so much. I feel like in a past life you were like a black guy from New York. I'm not
Well,
kidding.
remember you did a past life reading and you said I had this short, chopped, straight
Yeah,
black
from the
hair,
20s, the 20s.
which that is one of my main spirit guides. She comes to me in dreams all the time.
I
She's clear
honestly
as
wonder
day.
if it's not a spirit guide, but it's just you. It's you. It's an
Yeah,
aspect of you.
like Interstellar, she's looking through the library and she's like throwing things at me, like, don't go there.
But she was super empowered. I remember
She
feeling that
was
energy and being like, this is a star. Like,
jazz and jazz. And
oh,
when I
like a
hear,
star, a big
yes,
star. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, Great Gatsby, one of my favorite movies. And I don't really watch movies, but I can't get enough of it.
And you know what's hilarious? I can't stand 1920s music. It drives me crazy. And when I lived in Williamsburg in Brooklyn, like so many of the little bars around there, they like have that vibe. Like a lot of the like, what are those called? The not speakeasy. I guess what are those called? Like when they're hidden and like you go in and you have to like go
Mm,
somewhere and it's like a hidden
secret bars.
I
Yeah.
forget what it's called. But so like some of those places that I went to at some point, they'd be playing the 1920s music in the background. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. It,
I am having a visceral experience with this.
yeah, isn't that funny? It's just
Yeah.
so funny how our soul like has these things like these from
Oh,
our
yeah.
past lives, and we're like, I don't even
Yes.
know why.
Yes. Of
And like for you,
course.
it's the opposite, right? It brings back so
Yep.
many good
Yeah,
memories.
it does. Yeah, I've heard that before. There's other music I'm just like, turn this off. Oh my God.
Hmm.
Totally resonate with that. I couldn't go to one of those bars though. I would get claustrophobic. I
I
need
can't
windows.
anymore. No, no, no. This was like when I was 26, 27.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, I don't. I haven't drank since 2018. So,
Maybe really maybe one or two, but no. Have you noticed that a lot of people are not drinking anymore?
uh, yeah, I have. I also just know that, in 2018 is when I started working more with energy healing, Reiki, and Akashic Records. And with the
Yeah.
work that I do, you can't do it.
No.
And also, there's a lot of energies around places like that. If you're a sensitive person, be careful. Or
There's
just
a reason why they're called spirits.
yeah, exactly. Like just don't go.
Yeah. No,
So
can't do
yeah.
it.
No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. But I think it's also that was the Prohibition era, right? Like the 1920s. And
Yeah.
so I think all of that's tied together in some way, but
Yeah. Have you ever seen those Instagram accounts where they use AI to create like 90s flashbacks? Like this is summer in the 90s and there's like a slip and slide and hose and every kid's bike on the front lawn.
no, but I did follow like some 90s accounts with nostalgia with like Pogs and Sky Dancers and all that fun stuff. And then I was like, I have to stop doing this because like because like we're in a
Yes.
totally different time and I don't really follow too many AI accounts just because it's, whatever. But yeah,
Oh
I
my
the
gosh.
nostalgia can be real. So that's why I was like, no, 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 I'm not gonna
Yeah.
follow all these things.
I know. Yeah, having my two bonus boys, my partner's kiddos. I've known them since they were 2 and 3. They're 7 and 8 now, maybe 8 and 9. Oh my gosh, time flies. But it's so wild. I want to be like, go outside and play and climb a tree, but oh no, that's not. It's just not generationally
Wow.
what they do. And I feel like so many people don't let their kids run wild like we used to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my whole childhood was like animals, like frogs, mice, like anything,
Out.
cats, any animal I could
Yeah.
play with, find
Yeah.
in the mud. Like that's just
Yeah.
what you need to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's kind of a reason why at 36 I'm still not a parent and I could always do IVF and kind of force it, but I'm like, I know I'm going to be a parent, but I'm still at peace where if it actually doesn't happen, I think I'm okay with that because just raising a child in today's day and age, and then of course being an astrologer and kind of seeing the weather forecast for what's to come, I'm like, is this really what I want to do?
Oh my gosh, I want to talk about that. We can when we're done with the 12 signs, I do want to talk about what you are kind of
Yeah,
seeing for the future, but I agree. I mean, I will say like in every reading that I've done, the kids when people we can't read anyone under 18, but
yeah,
whenever a parent asks about their child and we'll get information on their relationship, like these kids are so sensitive and so advanced, like
yeah,
energetically, a lot of them. Not all, I won't say all of them, but like it's incredible to see how when we tune into a child's energy and they could be 5, they could be 7, they could be 12. It feels like an adult, feels like a fully formed person
yes,
that has everything, going on, but they're small. Like, and
yes,
it's a crazy thing. I feel like the sensitivity levels is just dialed up like
yes.
to another level for anyone
Oh my
coming in
gosh.
now.
I asked my bonus boy when he was 7 years old, I said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he looked at me and scrunched his face like, I'm only 7. Why would I think of that? And
Mm.
I was like, you know what? That was a really wise response of I'm a
Mhm.
kid. I'm trying to get through Earth at 7 years old. Why would I think about when I'm older? And then our even younger one, I asked him once, I don't know what we were talking, but I was like, if you had all the money in the world, what's the first thing you would go buy? And he said, nothing. I have family. I don't need anything. And I was like,
Love kids. They're just They're so awesome.
Whoa. Like no grown adult would even say that.
No,
It's
I love that.
incredible.
I love that.
Well, this is perfect for segue into our next sign, Gemini. Empowered, they are bridging heaven to earth. They are so smart. The teachers, the mentors, the communicators, intelligent to no end, and very psychic. They've got that bridge to
Mm,
heavens and earth.
mm,
Disempowered, anxiety, overstimulated, information addiction to where they can't stop taking it in and not go apply it.
mm,
Now, the planet Uranus is moving into Gemini July 8th. This is just what, in 10 days from now? And this is one of those transits coming up that I've got my eye on going, okay, what is going to happen here?
mm,
Yes, because Gemini is information, it's AI, it's the internet, it's school, it's
mhm,
learning. Uranus is the planet of sudden change, rebellion, doing things differently. Uranus says, all right, let me move into this sign and make what was once weird normal.
mm.
I predict, and this is going to be an 8 year long transit of Uranus and Gemini. I really do predict that all of us are going to have robots, that robots in our house
Oh
are going
no.
to be as common stance as everybody having a smartphone.
Ugh, this is like iRobot waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
don't think
think
that's a good thing.
I don't keep up with politics, but I'm pretty sure there was something just passed where there doesn't have to be any rules or regulations on AI for 10 years. Did you hear about that?
What? No.
I guys listening, don't quote me on this. I have to have boundaries with politics. It'll just drain me if I
Yeah, yeah,
don't.
yeah.
But I read or heard something that Trump just signed some bill that said there will be no rules or regulations on AI for 10 years, and then we'll
Okay.
pick it back up from then. And I thought that is the worst thing.
The
Like,
thing
why
that's
would that
crazy
happen?
though is like so much of what's online now is like this AI deep fake stuff that like anytime I see anything, I literally have to Google it and find at least like one or two articles that actually say that happened because like you just don't know. And there's so many people because of all the political propaganda on every side, like not just one or the other that are putting out these things and then like you're like, "Oh, this happened." And then like you'll Google it and it's like, "No, it didn't." So I don't know. I haven't heard that. I'll Google it, but that would be not the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
That would
It's too
be,
much.
yeah, yeah.
It is just information overloaded. I hope people are finally now realizing that the news, the media is very biased on both sides. It
Uh,
definitely swerves you towards a certain way, but then you get to a point where you're like, well, I need to be educated and informed, but now everything I read, I have to check sources and
yeah,
citations and then
yeah.
figure out from there. It is, to me, it's never been more important to get in tune with your energy and your intuition and your gut feelings
Mm-hmm,
than
mm-hmm,
right now.
mm-hmm.
Yes, and in astrology, when Uranus moves into Gemini, historically speaking, every time it moved into that sign, a war began.
I know, it's interesting because a lot of people are saying that. They're also saying like it's very similar. So there's a book called the Bhagavad Gita and Yoga Philosophy, which is about a war, the major
Mhm.
war that happened. And they're saying the astrology was very similar now to
Yep.
when that happened then. But also like this robots thing, you're making me think. I feel like, everything happens with the pendulum effect. And so that would be really one very extreme side of the technological advances. And I think then if it goes that way, it's going to have to go the other way, where it's going to be extremely organic living, off-grid living, no
Exactly.
technology,
None.
right?
None.
Otherwise, it's going to head towards like basic Matrix movie, trilogy
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
endings if we keep going that route.
Yeah.
So I do feel like I haven't tuned in. I don't want to say anything until I do, but like I do feel like that's an extreme, everybody having a robot. And I think the other extreme, because if there is ever an extreme like that, the pendulum will swing the other
Hmm.
way until it keeps going back to center till we
Yeah.
find equilibrium. So if that is a reality on the other side of the coin, because we live in a dual world, then the organic, and maybe they're both existing at the same time, right?
Hmm.
Maybe there's parts of civilization that are in that tech whatever layer on Earth, and then there's going to be people that are like, hell no. And
Right.
they're gardening and they're homesteading and they're living off grid and only
Hmm.
having biological food and organic things in their life. So who
Yes.
knows?
Yes. That was Uranus moving into Taurus. It's been in that sign. And I guess
Mm-mm.
in Vedic, the transits would be Uranus would be moving into Taurus,
Yeah, I don't know.
which could kind of blend the two together there. I could totally see that. And when we say war, I always hesitate to use that word because it instills fear in people, but it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be necessarily bullets and blood. It could be
Hmm.
cyber. It
Mm.
could be exactly what we were talking about, how AI is all over and you just don't know what's real and
Or
what's.
spiritual.
Yes. And I think you and I might have talked about this at one time, but it freaks me out that I think of things and I get an advertisement for
We
it.
did. We probably did talk about that because it's very true. It's happening. Anybody that says it doesn't, I'm like, no, stop denying the truth. You
And
need
people
the
tell me,
phone.
well, you use your debit card here and then you'll make an Amazon purchase there and then they just collect all that data. I'm like, no, there's some things that I have never purchased before. There's no record or history of it. And I think
And
of
you've
it,
never spoken it or texted
no,
it. Exactly.
never.
Do an experiment. It's like anyone listening that doesn't think that's true, do an experiment. Think about something completely random and focus on it for 5 minutes in front of your phone and see what comes up on your ads.
Yes, it does. It
I know this
does.
because as an energy healer, like when you do energy healing, that artificial energy will be in people's field and you have to clear it.
Yes,
So it's an
exactly.
energy. It's the same way like electricity and signals function and radio waves. It's an energy.
It 100 and it freaks me out.
It's
I
crazy.
think I might be the pendulum person where I do not want a phone. I like looking at the weather, but you know what? I'm just gonna have to learn to look outside
I mean,
because it
yeah.
scares me. We'll be watching a show on like Amazon Prime, and then all of a sudden it'll be a commercial and it'll say, "Hi, I'm Jordan," and I'm like, that's my partner's name, and we'll look and it's like a breast cancer commercial, and we have a friend who's struggling with that, and I'm like, what is going on?
Mm.
It freaks me
Yeah, it's almost like I wonder how much of that is synchronicity. Well, I will say something interesting about that. I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this with social media,
Yeah.
like the way that you're saying the ads will do that, but also your algorithm will reflect your thoughts. But they will have like, I try not to scroll too late at night because I notice they'll push out certain things to alter people's consciousness before they go to sleep, obviously, right? In the not
Yeah.
great way. But I do notice that, like, your algorithm on your Instagram will literally reflect your interests, not because you're, there's technological reasons. Like, you like the page, you spend time on a post, you share the post. Okay, sure. But also, like, the randomness of you now I'm all of a sudden, let's just say, into cooking. And now all of a sudden I'm getting cooking accounts that are popping up on my phone. And maybe it is that same connection that we're talking about, that like technological whatever. But or maybe it is also synchronicity. Maybe it's both.
It freaks me out. I don't get a good feeling from it. I don't
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
Even if it's just advertising and marketing, it feels
No, it's not
invasive.
right. And I feel like it's already, I think the hard part about it is people thinking it's weird to admit what we're saying.
Yeah.
You
They
know
don't
what I
want to
mean?
talk about it. I'm like, it's a very real thing.
Yes. And it's only going to get more advanced with each
Yeah.
new phone or device or whatever comes out.
Yeah. I know. I'm already getting to the point where I'm like, don't want that app. Nope. Don't want it. Right. When I've worked with some contract people, they'll be like, hey, download this, download that so we can communicate. And I say, I am so sorry. No, I can't. My brain, I don't know. I just can't swap between apps, between this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
scares me. Oh my
Yeah.
God, JL has two phones for work and then a personal one. And I'm just like, are
That's a
you
lot.
okay? Are you okay? Some people can handle it. I cannot. I will be found in that cottage by the sea.
Yeah, I feel like
No
there is a
phones.
divide of like the people that are super about technology and they're wearing those glasses that have the AI in them
Oh,
and all that stuff, right? And then there's the people like us that are like, no, like unless we have to. And
yeah,
like it can benefit our life for sure in many ways, but at the
yeah,
same time, no. Yeah.
too
There's a
much.
divide happening. There is.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to go back to MySpace and AIM, which is interesting because it was still social media, but we weren't as addicted to it. Do you think that's because
No.
we had a full core decades of what real life is like? So we were like, oh, this is cool, but walking to my friend's house is cooler.
Many factors. And I think technology was not as fast. So like we didn't have like our influencing like things were magazines. Those were huge.
Yep.
Movies. Like
Yep.
that's how we got influence. And those everybody collectively went through it as opposed to like something in your phone that immediately there's a viral trend, like virality, whatever didn't
Yeah.
exist back then in our day.
Oh my gosh.
We
I,
just
I
weren't as
think,
connected, like as a
yeah.
society as a whole. Yeah.
I think of that too. If I ever become a parent, I'm like, I'm gonna have a huge overhaul of my daily life because I do not want a child looking up to me and just seeing this. Just see me
Yeah,
glued.
my good friend just told me today how I was telling you about her before we got on, how since she's had her kid, she intentionally doesn't use her phone in front of her daughter
Yeah,
because she can tell her energy shifts when she sees her, like her, her daughter trying to talk to her and then she's on her phone listening. She can see how it affects her. So she's consciously put her
yeah,
phone away when she's with her child just to be as like a leader at leading from an example.
yes.
So I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
And that is our next sign, Cancer.
Mm.
Cancer is the sign of the mother, of the family, of the emotions. The empowered Cancer is nurturing. It can be a man or a woman. It's just someone who is
Mm.
very nurturing, kind soul. And I always say that they are the masters of the spectrum of emotions. They know how to control their anger, yet also express it. It's a very healthy emotion to release. They're
Mhm.
kind, they're compassionate, they can set boundaries, they're leaders when it comes to emotions. It's their cardinal water. Now, disempowered side of a Cancer, they're either frozen because they've been hurt so often, so they are not emotional, not nurturing, or
Mhm.
they blame their emotional state for everyone around them. It's your fault. I feel this way. It's not, I mean, yes, but now it's your responsibility to alter and soothe and heal that emotion. So that's the emotional reactive state of Cancer placements. Elon Musk is a Cancer sun, Cancer rising.
Cancer men. I think it's tough for them because they're ruled by the moon. The moon
Yes,
switches
it's a
all the
sad.
time.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think as a man, or even it doesn't matter whatever gender you are, but like
Mhm.
if you're more masculine, I think that's
Yep,
tough working with like the constant switching of
constant.
emotions.
Yep,
A
yep.
lot of people say, watch out for Cancer men.
They do,
A
don't
lot of
they?
astrologers online. Yeah.
Well, why? I mean, I
I
mean,
mean,
it depends on what you have in
I
your chart.
think because a lot of people, women are in the typical archetypal feminine masculine energies, like
Yeah.
they want the masculine to be the more grounded force, and then the woman is the more emotional,
Emotion.
fluid, watery force. And I think so when a man is dealing more with that feminine aspect of like constantly fluctuating emotions, that could be challenging for a woman,
Very. The
possibly.
empowered Cancer man is usually a bodybuilder or someone extremely fit because they say,
Mm.
okay, I recognize my emotional mood swings or how difficult emotions are for me. I'm going to channel it into physical exercise,
I
into
love
just
that.
moving and sweating it out. Another side of an empowered Cancer man or woman is someone who is very successful at business. Because
Mm.
they look nurturing, growing is a Cancer's thing, and businesses are literally like gardens. How much you nurture it, what you put into it, where does it need fertilizer, where are things dying? They grow businesses. And so a lot of empowered Cancer sons are very wealthy and successful business people.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are a
Or
lot
they
of water signs really good with money? Is that kind of a thing? Or is it more
good
earth?
question. I know Taurus and Scorpio are notoriously good with money.
Mm.
Let's see, Capricorn, Cancer, those are really my money ones.
Hmm.
Yeah, any
Hmm.
fixed signs. So that would be
Okay.
Aquarius
Okay.
sometimes, but yeah, definitely Cancer and Capricorn number one, Taurus and Scorpio number two.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, those are the money makers. Yeah. And Jupiter, the sign of expansion or the planet of expansion, abundance, where a lot of the collective is going to focus their energy, just moved into Cancer a couple weeks ago. And
Mm.
so we just had Jupiter in Gemini since last June, which
Right,
was
right, right.
information overload. We really got to look and magnify the lens of the media here in America, anyway.
Right,
And
right.
now it's in Cancer. So, what we may see from people starting now all the way until early next July is moving home, switching where they physically live to live in a place where they feel more emotionally grounded. A
Mm.
lot of people could be healing deep seated generational ancestral wounds during this influence. It's really
Mm.
beneficial. And a lot of people might be starting families or just going out to find that soul family. If they don't have a biological family, they feel like they want to go mend things with. I'm excited for this transit. That kind of softens the edges of Uranus and Gemini.
Yeah, I think because everyone's saying it's exalted, right? Jupiter's in its like
Yes,
home
very good.
sign.
Yeah, I love being in Cancer. A lot of people could be investing in land, or like you said, they could be like,
Yeah,
okay, I want a homestead. Shit is
right.
getting weird in the city. I'm gonna go really do this. Yeah, here, Twin Moon Ranch. We're looking at chicken coops next.
I mean, that's so crazy. I mean, I also, wow, like I left the city and a city itself is its own matrix field. I don't think people get that. It's literally like around each city is its own energetic matrix consciousness that is very hard to leave until you actually physically move addresses and leave the city. Like mind wise, like it's embedded in the collective consciousness of that field. And I mean, that's why we see such different political views, like in the country, even in a state, the city versus the rural areas, like there's a matrix there. It's very intense. So yeah, to what you're
Yeah. We're here outside of Austin, Texas. We're about
saying.
45 minutes south of it. And
Mhm.
whenever people say, I can't believe someone like you lives in Texas, Trump country, I'm like, it's actually not. Austin, Texas is one of the most progressive places to live. But even with that, Austin has been a place, and for Austin listeners, no offense, but it's just my personal feeling. I don't resonate with it. And
Well,
I don't know
everyone
why.
from LA moved there, right? It was like that was like LA
Yeah.
migration. Yeah.
But before I came here for the first time in 2020 to work, but then the pandemic hit 1 month into it. So I was just locked away on Lake Travis here in Austin, Texas. And I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know what cities I feel okay in. I don't
Same,
know. Maybe I'm just,
same. I'm not really a city person. I thought I was going to be a city person for life, because I'm from New York. So I
yeah,
was like, oh, there's this energy. I'm a New Yorker,
yeah,
that's a thing. That's a thing you
yeah.
have to release too. It's so crazy. And then you leave it and you're just like, oh, I can breathe.
Yes,
The more
exactly.
sensitive you get, the harder it is to live in an environment like that.
Mm,
And similar to the kids you were talking about, I remember towards the end of my life there, like living there, even trains, like would be just the sound was so intense because when your gifts are opening, when your sensitivities are opening, it's just a lot of energy. Not to say like super spiritual people can't live and work there because they do.
oh, yeah.
And we need that. Otherwise, it would be Gotham. Talking about New York City in particular, which is kind of heading towards anyways.
Yep.
But I just feel that it's a really tough to be an energetically sensitive person and to live in a place in such a matrix grid without nature.
Yeah.
It's a lot on your nervous system over time.
I find myself gravitating to retirement communities. I don't know why, but you move to a new place, you're like, I'm gonna go meet some new friends. All of mine are 75 plus. I'm like, what
Mm.
is it? And they always ask me and JL, like, what drew you guys here? We're like, I don't know. It just feels
Wait,
good.
that is so funny. Your friends are all 70 plus.
Pretty much all of my
Ah.
neighbors are. We gravitate towards places where the elderly live.
Yes,
And maybe
yes,
it's
yes.
because they're just peace, they're grounded. There's not a lot of energy or activity going on. It gets boring sometimes because there's no, cool coffee shop to go to or a yoga studio, but it's peaceful. There's nature, it's quiet, there's no partying, there's no traffic.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's different phases, and I know especially in like astrology, Eastern astrology, yoga philosophy, like the end phases of our life is really when we're supposed to go fully inwards. So the fact that you're around people like that,
Going inward.
because you've lived life, you're like, well, what's
Yep.
the point? But
Yep.
I'm not striving towards anything, goal wise, maybe the way I was when I was 20. So now it's
Yeah.
like, what's the real goal?
Yeah.
Like, what is my soul really still here for in this body?
Yep.
And then the lucky ones, we get to do that when we're younger.
I know.
We get to start on that at least.
I know. I'm a young snowbird. Do you know any Leos? What do you think of Leos?
I did know a Leo. I think they're great. I think if they're in the right place, with their career and stuff, like they're doing what they're supposed to do and they're inspiring a lot of people. It
Yeah.
just depends. Yeah.
They're fixed fire signs. People
Mm.
always say when you think of stubborn, Taurus, I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. They're fixed earth. So their
Uh-huh.
stubbornness is kind of worn on their sleeve. But Leos can sometimes give Taurus a run
Mm.
for their money when it comes to being stubborn.
Interesting.
Right. And they can put Aries to shame when it comes to I choose me, myself, and I. So the empowered side of a Leo is these
Mm.
truly are the biggest cheerleaders. Like you said, when they're in a good
Mhm.
place in their life, career, relationship, fitness, whatever it may be, they feel so good and they want everyone they love to wear a crown with them and feel so
Mhm.
good. So in power, they are one of the best cheerleaders of people
Mhm.
who are genuinely happy for your success and
Mhm.
will just promote you to no end to see you get famous in air quotes feel you may see you feel good. They
Hmm.
love it. They're extroverted, they're fun, they laugh, they are tapped into their inner child. They'll dance in the rain with you and put music on in the morning to wake up with you. They just exude the sun. They're ruled by the sun. But disempowered, a lot of Leos are actually extremely shy because maybe when they were growing up, they were robbed of the opportunity to play in the sandbox of life and just have fun, be a child, scream, kick, cry,
Hmm.
play, be goofy. They didn't get to do that. And especially if they played dress up or expressed themselves through art and had an adult tell them, you painted them, that sucks. Go,
Hmm.
don't, you can't wear that princess dress out to go change, put on some normal clothes. Like these
Hmm.
things really dampen their sun. And so empowered, they're a blast. Disempowered, they're either very quiet, introverted and shy and afraid to get on stage, or some of them can party too much. They're like the perpetual 18-year-old, even though they're 40, 50, 60. And you're like, hey, why are you posting thirst traps at 50 years old? Like, you gotta let that go at some point. Like, you gotta know that you can shine without getting the attention from others.
Hmm. Hmm.
I love Leos.
So funny. I don't think I've ever met a shy Leo, but I would,
Really?
yeah.
Of course, in my readings, I see them sometimes that they're usually the first one that comes to me and says, why am I shy? I don't like putting on makeup. I don't like getting dressed up. I don't want to perform. I'm terrified of people. How am I a Leo? Do I have my birth type wrong? Like, what's going on?
Well, would you say that with astrology, it's like the soul picks
Yeah.
the sign, the signs that they really need the most lessons in? Or would you say like the soul picks the signs that they're most resonant with already? Or do you see both?
You'll love this theory. I read in a book by, I believe it was Jan Spiller. Might have been Astrology for the Soul, but God, I think I'm getting it wrong. Sorry, I'm terrible at quoting.
Same.
Great. But there is a theory in astrology where they say that at conception, because some people argue, well, wouldn't your birth chart be when you became an embryo? You're technically alive and breathing. And I always love that theory. But people say that when a man and a woman create a child, that they're sending up a beam up to the universe saying, in order for our relationship, our family to stay intact, we need that energy, whatever the child is born as. I'm a Sagittarius sun. I think my family needed to change their beliefs that they were instilled in them in
Mm,
order, and they needed to get out of their small town. They needed to move away together to go do things. If someone has a Taurus sun child, maybe they need to learn self-value. Maybe they need to learn to stop caring so much about money and fearing it and letting
mm.
it get in the way of having a relationship. There's a
I
theory of
I love these thoughts. Well, I know in a lot of Eastern religions, Eastern philosophy, including even like Kabbalah, things like that, they believe at the moment of conception, your seed consciousness, like the consciousness that the two parents are having in that very moment, is what determines the spiritual level, the personality, and things like that. That you could say similar to what you're saying, that beam that gets sent up, like that the child, the soul will have. And then when you're talking about people saying a birth chart at conception, well, the thing is, yes, there's conception, but the soul itself is not anchored into the body until it's really fully on earth. And it goes in and out all the time. All the time when it's in the womb. It's not fully anchored yet. And that's why in a lot of, especially Middle Eastern cultures and cultures in the East, you don't share your pregnancy news until it's a certain amount of days in
I didn't
because
know
you don't
that.
want, yeah, you don't want like evil eye or you don't want negative influence or any kind of influence because it's so delicate. It's the same as like a seed. If you planted a seed in the ground in the very beginning, it's very fragile, like as it's starting to germinate. And so a lot of cultures, they'll keep uh, the pregnancy private for as long as they can to give that soul the buffer space without any outside interference energetically affecting it because it's such a fragile connection in the beginning. And not to say, like, if a soul is destined to be with parents, it will come, whether that pregnancy or another pregnancy. So it will come, but it's like it can be delayed,
Mhm.
if there is interference from outside energies and outside opinions and things like that. So that's why when you said that about the birth chart at conception, I'm like, well, that one really makes sense because it's not really guaranteed
Yeah.
until,
So cool.
yeah.
And speaking of social media, I always manifest like one day I'll at least have one child experience pregnancy. And I always think am I going to share this on social media? Like everybody makes these big reveal videos, gender reveal
Yeah.
videos, and every time I tap into it, it's like, no, I'll be that person that will just show a little baby hand and be like, yep, I had a child. You never saw me pregnant. You never saw any. It's just, I'm like, what? Am I just like afraid to be seen? I gaslight myself. Like, are you just shy
No.
now? But it's just such a strong feeling that when the time comes, very select people will know.
It's the protective mom in you. I think you're just tuned into your soul and you know that your soul is doing, because as parents, we're spiritual guardians for our children. And whenever like a child is having a lot of nightmares or problems, it's like, okay, parents step in. You're the ones that are supposed to be spiritually guarding your child right now. And not to say that that's the cause of the nightmares, because kids have their own karma, their own past life stuff coming in. But that is the role. So I think you're just really in tune with that energy already of that role of being the guardian energetically of your child.
That is so beautiful. And I even
Yeah.
had a friend say once, which was so cool. She was like, what about the death date? When someone dies, if they're in a hospital or they write down the time of death and the day of death, could you pull a chart from that and kind of reflect on what they're, I'm like, that is a really good question.
Whoa. I've never
Right?
thought of that before.
We have a
What
birth
what
chart,
would the
death
chart
chart.
be for though? Because that's like, isn't your chart for your time on Earth?
That's what I thought. I
So
don't
it's
know.
like if the soul's not here anymore, then why would you need a chart?
Right? Would that chart reflect everything they went through in life? Like a path? I'm like, I don't know. That's a really good question.
Mm.
Yeah. Right? All these things. I love it. I love people who challenge astrology or just kind of
Mm.
like think of it this way. I'm like, that's true, which
Mm.
is usually our next sign, Virgos. My man is all Virgo, everything. He's Virgo, Sun, Mars, Mercury, Venus, just everything. So I love the Virgo archetype. I
Nice.
do. It's not for everyone though. And interestingly enough, we'll start with the disempowered side of Virgos, really piss them off. They're the perfectionists, so they're like, tell us how great we are, us.
This is
But
your Sagittarius moon coming out, or what Sagittarius? What are you,
Sag
Sagittarius
Sun,
sun?
Sag
Okay.
Sun. Oh,
Okay, yeah.
I
That's
love
what's
picking on
happening. That's
Virgo.
that's the poking. Okay.
But it broke my heart because I truly have a bias towards this sign. I love it. But in all of my readings over the past few years, I have found that the most abusive psychologically partner is a Virgo.
I mean,
Now, I
that
don't
makes
like to use
sense.
definitive statements. This isn't
Mm.
always true in every single case. But what's cool about Virgos is that they'll openly admit, like, yeah, I have a problem stealing my partner's phone and going through it without permission. I go through all of my partner's belongings. I read their diary. I go through their laptop. I have a problem. And Virgo rules control, refinement, perfectionist tendencies. Virgo is the sister of Pisces.
Mm.
And so, just as Pisces can struggle with substance abuse, mental health struggles, so can't Virgo. Virgos just hide it through perfectionists. They're like the functioning alcoholic, where they get everything done. They're healthy, they look good, they have a great career, but behind closed doors, they're doing pills, they're drinking alcohol because they just have to tone down all the nervous energy within them. So,
Mhm.
disempowered Virgo is extremely controlling, always finding a problem where there is none, very nitpicky, but it's out of a fear of loss of control. Now,
Mhm.
empowered Virgo, they are the virgin, they bear the wheat, they love to break bread. This is why I love Virgos. They will do anything for their loved ones.
Mhm.
They pay such close attention to the little things, the body language, how you
Mhm.
look when you're tired, how you look when you're dehydrated, and they'll just show up with a glass of water without even you ask.
Mhm.
If you need anything, they're one of the most reliable signs. Hey, I don't feel good. Can you bring me my groceries on it? I know exactly what you get. I know where to put it in your pantry. They're so good. A funny fact is a lot of comedians are Virgo suns. And to be a comedian or to be an actor or an actress, you have to analyze a character that's not your usual and then become them. They're mutable earth signs. And so they're very good at analyzing things and then copying it, doing imitations, doing voiceovers. They're extremely talented at this.
That makes a lot of sense because you have to see the nuance to be funny. Like it's the nuance and then just sharing the shared experience that we all
Yes.
think about, but we don't talk about. And that's what
Yes.
makes it funny.
Yes. Such
That
hard
makes so much
workers.
sense. I will
Such.
say also it's like a worrying thing because I know,
Yeah.
with my stellium and that in Eastern, like one of my biggest journeys has been like always, you're always thinking about other people and you have to pull it
Yes.
back in. You have to pull it back in.
Yep.
And like like that, what's the oxygen, the oxygen mask
Yes.
coming on first. That's the biggest thing I think for a Virgo, in general.
Is to fill their own cup first. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is where I love astrology in relationships because knowing my partner is all Virgo, everything, I
Hmm.
see it in him. I see him
Hmm.
just pour from an empty cup on his employees, his kiddos, me,
Hmm.
everyone. And I can't tell him, what do you need from me? Because he'll say, I'm good, I got it. Classic
Hmm.
Virgo. So I'll just have to pay attention and say, okay,
Hmm.
he's super busy. I'm going to make dinner tonight. He usually cooks because Virgos are very good with their food. But
Mm.
I always tell my Virgo clients, hey, it's going to be the hardest thing you do, but you have to let your loved ones fall on their face. You have to let people absorb the consequences for their actions, not step in front and absorb it for them and protect them. Because
Hmm.
Virgos are so smart, they are so intelligent, sometimes to their fault. They love to fix people. They love a good dumpster fire. They're like, I want to refine and perfect and work on you
Hmm.
without saying, wait a second, I got to work on myself. I'm tired.
Hmm.
I don't feel good. A lot of
Hmm.
Virgos have stomach issues.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes. They have the inner perfectionist, right? My relationships have to be perfect. My
Mm.
career has to be perfect. I'm not perfect. A lot of Virgos struggle to take any sort of criticism. It's if you have a Virgo in your life, really buffer it with, hey, I love you. You are my favorite person ever. I love how you do this. But this has been bothering me a little bit lately. Now I know how good you are at fixing things I bring up. You really have to add padding to any sort of criticism because they take it seriously. They
Yeah.
hate when they're wrong. They don't like when they're not perfect. And it's usually stems, a lot of Virgos, speaking of souls, are born into families that are really dysfunctional. And they are kind of born as parents.
Hmm.
And
I
so
was
they,
gonna say that's like the parentified child or the eldest daughter
yes,
fits that
yes, there
archetype.
you go. Parentified child. They're very all business, no play,
Yeah,
unless there's
yeah,
something else in their chart.
yeah.
Like they're just like constantly, it's almost like you're at a grand ball or a party and they're the butler there and they're like serving everyone and they're there to work. And you're like, hey, everyone's fine. Put that down. Come dance with me. And they're like, nope, I'm working. And you're like,
Hmm.
there's music playing. Have a drink, relax. And they're like, nope, I can't be drunk. Are you kidding me? I'm working. You're like, come on, let your hair down.
So funny. Well, I
That
think we didn't do Sagittarius and Scorpio. We did
I
Libra.
know. Yes, we have two boards. Scorpio, real quick. And I think we mentioned Scorpio a little bit.
Okay.
Empowered, these are my phoenix rising from the ashes. These are strong people, resilient people. These are the EMTs. These are the death doulas. These are the people who you want when shit hits the fan because they maintain composure so much and they're very loyal, loyal to a fault. Now, disempowered is all those things. They go through a lot of death and rebirth in life. Not literal physical dying, although it could be, but these are the people who have seen some shit. I always say, leave me a trail of breadcrumbs so I know where to find you. Right? They can be controlling, possessive, very abusive because they've been abused. It's kind of like
Mhm.
how if someone gets abused when they're young, the chances of them becoming an abuser are very high. That's kind of the Scorpio archetype there. But empowered, these are the strongest, most loyal,
Mhm.
and people that they don't realize Scorpios can be very extroverted because they have literally danced with death and they recognize how fragile life is and they
Mhm.
just enjoy every single moment. A lot of people don't realize that about Scorpios.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you know any Scorpios?
I'm a Scorpio rising.
That's
I-
and I'm a Scorpio moon. I got it tattooed
Yeah.
on me.
I love Scorpios. My dog's a Scorpio. I
Ah,
love I don't know if that counts, but I love
of
Scorpios.
course.
Whenever I have a client that's a Scorpio, I'm
Yes.
like, yes, here we
Yes.
go.
They'll go
Like,
deep. They'll
let's
go
do it.
deep.
Yeah. I mean, especially with what we do, you need to do that.
Me
You need to
too.
be able to have that capability.
Scorpio rising is probably my favorite client. I know. Scorpio rising, Taurus rising, they just have this energy of power.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
power,
Mhm.
strength. And when you hear their stories, you're like, you've been through what? And
Yeah.
you're still that beautiful and your aura is shining. How did you do that? These are the
Mhm.
healers, the psychologists, the
Mhm.
shaman, so to speak, of the zodiac.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then your favorite sign, Sagittarius.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I like it. Your favorite, I
Sagittarius is
think.
you. Yes, that's my Sagittarius Sun and Mercury. I do identify heavily with my Sag. Got to control it sometimes, but it's the centaur, right? It's the bow and arrow aiming towards the sky. It's the
Mhm.
other sign that's known to rule Earth because it's simply feet on the ground and wants to shoot to the stars to bring messages from Earth out there. But Sagittarius is mutable fire. So they are notoriously the class clowns. The let's just laugh it off. Let's laugh at a funeral. Who cares? We're all dying anyway. Get over
Hmm.
the free spirits that love to travel, not to just go sip a Mai Tai on a cruise, but they want to go to Italy, stay with a family, learn how to make pizza for generations, and then come back home and teach everyone how to do it. Now, disempowered, it's kind of surprising, is Sagittarius can be a cult leader. Like literally and metaphorically speaking, they can be
Hmm.
so good at convincing people to do things they really don't want to do. They exude this I'm powerful and I've got this big Jupiter type energy. Listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. Very dogmatic, if
Mm.
you will. And some people have some pretty gnarly experiences being raised by a Sagittarius parent where they're just blunt. Like one
Yeah,
client said
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was playing my dad was teaching me how to play basketball because I really wanted to join the team next year and he kept telling me, "God, you suck." Like just throw it like this. They're so blunt. They just
Mm.
throw things out there. Definitely got to think before they speak, but
Mm.
empowered, these are like a mix of Gemini and Aquarius, where they don't think anything's weird. They're funny. They're the life of the party. A lot of Sagittarians are college professors and researchers.
Makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
But disempowered, it's like, can you be serious for a second? Or can you try and see things from my way just for a minute?
That's funny. I remember when you read my chart at some point, you were like, you have this ability, but you hide it. You don't want, like, you need to, like, not be so serious all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I've had several people tell me that from my chart. I don't know how you see that, but it's, it's there somewhere.
It's in your weather forecast. That's all
Yeah.
it is. The weather forecast. You decide what to do with it.
So, as an astrologer doing so many readings, I want a little bit of the tea on like your personal opinion on some of the things you've seen. Like, what are some of your favorite signs and what are some of the signs that you feel are a little bit more challenging that you've seen like
Yeah.
with all of the readings that you've done?
She wants the tea. Now, everybody listening, you got to know everything's a projection. I am projecting at you as a Sagittarius sun with a Scorpio moon that trusts nobody and a Taurus rising. So and it's hard when you become an astrologer, and a lot of astrology school is reflecting on the past because when you can see the experience of, oh, I had this situation when I was a teenager, but the transit said that's exactly what was going to happen. That's a lot, the
Hmm.
bulk of astrology school. And so
Hmm.
I personally grew up in middle school and high school. I was severely bullied, like people following me to my house to beat me up in front of my mom.
Hmm.
Bullied.
Hmm.
It was nasty. And so, of course, I was like, well, I knew these people's birthdays because I've always loved astrology. And the vast majority of them were Pisces.
What? That is
Yeah.
shocking. That is shocking.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, everybody, I was young. Now I'm so in my Taurus rising, not so much my Sag. Sag and Pisces are what we call squared. They're 90 degrees away. So I was like, maybe that was it. They just didn't like my big exuberant energy. They didn't like my
Right.
DJ. Okay. But even to this day, I just feel like Pisces and I, when we become close, not with a client to astrologer
Right,
relationship,
right, right.
those flow, but close, we're like oil and water. I don't know
Mm,
what it is. I don't
mm.
know what it is because I love the artistic side of Pisces. I kind of want to manifest a Pisces friend that I can like write songs with and record music with. But personally, that has been my experience. And again, I had mentioned that the most difficult relationships tend to have a Virgo sun involved with them. And I
Mm.
hate that for my Virgos. Everyone would think like Scorpio's the controlling and the possessive one, but no, it's Virgo, at
Hmm.
least from what the type of clientele that I attract.
Hmm.
Cancer moon is a rather emotionally difficult one to have because, like you were saying, it's ruled by the moon. And when your moon is in Cancer, your emotional body is up one day, down the next, up one
Right,
day, down the next. And if you
right.
don't have control over that horse is going to stomp all over you. It's a tough one
Hmm.
to have. Um, People have a lot of people with Cancer moons get misdiagnosed with like bipolar or borderline personality. It gets serious. A
Mm.
lot of children born with a Taurus sun are questionably autistic.
Hmm.
And, that's a very real diagnosis nowadays. So definitely get that checked if you
Hmm.
suspect that. But there's usually a correlation when I work with parents and they describe, like, I think my son, usually it's a boy, I don't know why, is autistic. Okay, well, why do you think that? They'll describe sensory stuff. And I'm like,
Mm.
well, is this son born in May, perhaps? And they're like, yes, how did you know that? I have a
Oh,
Taurus son brother who actually does have Asperger's, but they're ruled by the senses. And like we were saying today, not a very sensory friendly world,
no. Yeah. Wow.
right? So it's usually just create a more soothing, calm environment and see if those symptoms subside. Yeah,
Wow. And what
it's
about romantically, like for romantic relationships? Because you do
oh,
synastry.
I do
We
synastry.
barely talked about it, but that's one of your specialties, and it's
Yeah, the
great.
synastry is the overlay of two charts. And so romantically, I just want to write this in sky letters in the sky for people. Because even on dating apps, I hear that they use your sun sign, and people are like, I'm a Virgo, they're a Libra, we're not a good match. I'm like, no, 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 it's your moon sign. The
Mm.
moon sign is how you emotionally react. So the sun sign is the character you play to the world. Who your friends know, who your family knows. I know you're a Libra, but your moon sign represents who you become when you're intimate, when you're close, when you're behind closed doors with someone. And we want our soulmate, moon, not our ego mate, sun.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
really you want to know the moon sign of someone, which you can get without their time of birth.
mm,
Yeah. And I would say for compatibility, twin moons, the same moon sign is always in long-term relationships, twin rising signs as well. Um, people, astrology and text would say when signs are squared 90 degrees away, there's friction, there's tension, and they're not wrong. But I find that if the people recognize the tension and agree to disagree, it creates sexiness, fresh energy, alive energy that withstands the test of time. Like Sagittarius and Virgo are one of the biggest squares between two signs. It's big picture versus details. It's
mm,
all play, all work. They're
mm.
very opposite. But if they can agree to disagree and kind of work together like yin yang, it's one of the coolest things to be squared with someone.
And what's the biggest marker of a karmic partner?
That would be 12th house placements.
Mm,
Anything in the 12th house. The twin flame mark is Jupiter falling into someone's 12th house or someone's sun lighting up your 12th house. So you would see what sign comes before my rising sign. If
mm,
you're a Sagittarius rising, then that would be Scorpio rules your 12th house. So a
mm,
Scorpio sun person or Scorpio moon might be very karmically linked to you.
mm. I don't know what it was, but you saw that in the chart right away. Um,
Yes.
but they weren't that. They were, I don't know what else you saw, but it's
And
fascinating.
there were a bunch of things. I remember you guys had like three or four. It was a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, it was a lot.
That's a lot. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see how some like you'll just see the same exact degree. Like I'm a 14 degree Sagittarius sun, and JL has a 14-degree Sagittarius Saturn. And so we
Mhm.
really came here to, I'll look at the 14th degree and I'll look at Sagittarius. I'm like, oh, wow, we really need to roll up our sleeves and go put in some work in this area of life. And when I
Wow.
do, when I set our sails towards that sea and recognize it, and life happens, bills have to be paid, there's
Mhm.
co-parenting, there's all different types of things. It's easy to forget about this stuff. But when you come
Mhm.
back to it, it just gives you a sigh of relief because you can say, oh, I can let it go. This was kind of written in the stars. But then
Mhm.
also say, okay, if I'm going to worry about something, let me just worry about this and focus on that. It's really
Mhm.
cool. So,
Mhm.
a lot of people ask, like, is there a such thing as no compatibility? To that, I say, no, it is truly up to the person. I have done a reading with some people who have composite or synastry charts that are what you would look at and go, holy crap, how do they even like each other? This is
Mm.
all covered in red lines. Like this has got to be tough. Their love. They have their high highs and their low lows, but they are working it out and they are doing it. And then I'll see people with beautiful synastry. I'm like, what a lovely relationship. Oh, they locked you in a bathroom for 3 days and oh yeah, they're physically abusive. The stories you hear, you're like, this is really what goes on in the world. Okay. Hmm.
Wow. I would love for you to like write a book on this where you have like long-term studies on these relationship charts. Because who's done that, right? Where
I
it's
know.
like you've looked at them and then 5 years later, and then 10 years later, and then 15 years later, you ask, like, what was the result of this? How is this manifesting? Is it still going on? And I would love to see how that compares to what the chart says.
actually says. Oh, I do that with my own. We're going on year 6, and I've been reading it since the first time we met. And so it's been really cool to do exactly as you just described. See where we fell, where we've succeeded, where we get stuck, and where we move towards.
I think that's interesting too, because in Eastern, it's so focused on the chart where like not as much anymore because people aren't as traditional, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't get married unless the charts are compatible.
I
You
know. I
wouldn't
have a
even meet unless the charts are compatible.
Yes. I
Yeah.
have had a few clients who come from that culture and
Yeah.
they were put together or they witnessed a family member put together through their birth charts and they have all vocalized that it doesn't work.
It's
They're like,
interesting.
it doesn't, they're like, I don't really believe in, I love astrology, but I don't know what astrologer or spiritual leader might be looking at the charts and comparing them. There was a
Mm.
reality TV dating show, Written in the Stars, where
Mm.
I even had one of the guests come on my podcast where they paired people up based off of their birth charts. And as an astrologer, I was pulling my hair out, like, what do you do? Why would you put that person in that?
I see.
I was like, okay, I think that they did hire astrologers, but they were like, give us the most incompatible people and let's put them in a room.
Right, for
And so we have
TV.
drama. So
Yeah.
we have drama.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
exactly what they did.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. You know, it's so funny because as you know, I'm like an avid believer in astrology and Eastern astrology especially,
Yeah.
but I remember saying after the last thing I was in, like I I will not get into anything with someone unless I see their chart first and check the compatibility because
Yes.
it's just important. And then the last person that I was just talking because I didn't want to take anything further. They didn't have a chart. They didn't have their time of birth. It was lost. And I'm like, look at that. You make plans and God laughs. Like literally, I'm like, I will not unless I know the chart. And there you go. God's like, really? Here's someone with
Really?
no chart. Have fun.
With absolutely none. In that case, I would just look at their moon sign and I would just anchor in that. It's the soul, it's the emotional energy. Whenever I do children's readings, because I tell parents, like, hey, being a parent is tough, but these little kids come with an instruction manual. It's called their birth chart. We
No,
always
yeah.
anchor in the moon. We don't even look at their sun sign. We just anchor in the moon
No,
and
I've had several clients that actually don't know their first sign. They don't know anything at all, their birth date, because they were adopted and
yep, I
like
have
things
those
like
too.
that. Yeah. And so
I
when
have
that
those too.
happens, a lot of them, it's upsetting. And so they'll ask, and a lot of the times in the records, they will say, like, it was an intentional thing because your soul was it's an intentional, like nothing is random or by accident, and that
Yeah,
this was happening because you had to go through life without that assistance, otherwise it would have been too heavily relied upon. That's what like two out of the three or four people I've had that have had that, that's what the records was saying to them
yeah.
about why that occurred. um
Oh,
yeah, which is interesting, right? You know, you
yeah.
have to think of it that way.
Yeah, we do a chart rectification in
Mm.
astrology when we get clients like that, where you just ask them a series of questions based off of major transits in the past and just kind of see, oh, you got married that year. Okay, Pluto must have been in your seventh house, things like that. I can't do that. That's a like 4 hour session to ask tons of questions, and you have to have dates ready. It's wild, but they do that. But yeah,
That's
people do.
crazy.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Some people really
Yeah.
do rely on astrology too heavily.
Hmm.
Have you noticed that? Or just any spiritual practice too heavily,
Hmm.
they kind of give away
Hmm.
their autonomy.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I think that's especially with the element of predictions. I think that's what can be challenging for people. Like, you know, what's really a prediction and there, and what's like your free will, and how you can navigate that. So just last question here around what
Yeah.
we're talking about with predictions. I didn't even look at the time until now. Oh my God. So I love this conversation. It's, I think, the longest one I've had so far. But we're catching up. It's been a long time. So with predictions, how do you feel about that? Like, especially with your own life, knowing your chart, have you seen things happen? Like, have you ever been surprised since you got into astrology where you're just like, whoa, I did not see that coming? Or was it like, no, I could tell that something was coming? Like, how does that work for you and with clients when it comes to predictions,
Yeah.
and free will and fate and all of that?
Oh, such a beautiful question, right? It's like asking the psychic or the intuitive, like, can't you predict? Can't you see in your own life? It's like your ego's in the way. I have an
Hmm.
ego. I have things that my ego wants and tells
Hmm.
itself that it needs. And whether that comes true or not, it's life, it's
Hmm.
things. So
Hmm.
I actually forget I have a birthstone half the time because I'm so enmeshed in so many all day, every day that I kind of get astrologied out. And at the end of the
Hmm.
day, I just shut everything off and I go talk to the sky.
Hmm.
I go outside and I just enjoy it. But do I use it for my own chart? Absolutely. And I love using it for JL's chart for business purposes. And I
Hmm.
just say, hey, remember, this is a weather forecast.
Right.
So we don't know what's going to happen. That's where free will, that's where fate, that's where all these other forces intervene. But yes, I've definitely had some key moments in my life where I'm like, oh, I saw that coming, not surprised in the slightest.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
what about with like the world? Because you were kind of briefly touching on it. You were
Mhm.
saying the next 8 years. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on the astrology that you've seen where we're
Oh
kind of heading?
just a whole new era. I get so many clients that come to me and want to know their purpose. You know, like I'm lost, I hate my job, I don't like where I live. What am I meant to do? I would say before relationships and love, it is what's my purpose? What's my soul's purpose? Because my soul
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good. I'm like, well, our souls don't feel good because we have no circadian rhythm. We have no connection with what's real. Of course, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, when it comes to, okay, well, I need to make money and I want to at least enjoy what I do to make that money. Okay. Well, the age of Aquarius is here. It began in March 2023 when Pluto, planet of transformation, it's the farthest, most outer planet. So its influence is very collective and generational. So everyone listening, don't necessarily look and say, oh, I don't have any Sagittarius. Wait, my Pluto's in Sagittarius. I do have a Sag placement. Yes and no, it's generational. So
Mm-hmm.
Pluto just moved into the sign of Aquarius in March 2023. And last November of 2024, he's stationed direct, meaning he's never going to dip his toes
Mm-hmm.
back into Capricorn anymore, not for our lifetimes.
Wow.
But this is just influencing the collective to be more power to the people. And
Mm.
Aquarius is that planet or that archetype that does what's weird and makes what's weird normal. I think that things like astrology will be used in public schools, in the doctor's office, again, because many years ago, you had to be an astrologer before you could be a Western medical doctor to utilize transits and prescribing medications and surgeries with it. It's so cool. But then,
Really?
yeah, all the outer planets, it's Uranus, it's Pluto, it's Neptune, they work collectively. And just this year, we had all three switch signs. And usually, with the timing, Neptune spends 12 years in a sign, Uranus spends 8, Pluto spends anywhere from 18 to 30. So, if you
Mm-hmm.
do all the math on that, to have them all switch signs at the same time is unheard of. And they
Mm-hmm.
all are. The final one will be Uranus on July 8th, switching into Gemini. And I
Mm.
mean, I think everyone can say since January, we've just been looking left, looking right. And it's like every day is something brand new that makes us go, what? Wait,
Literally.
we bombed who? Now we're doing what? Wait, the Department of Education is gone? Okay. Wow, we're really just we're going all the way. What this is so weird. Robots are in our house. What? This is so weird, right? I reflect back on 2010 or 2011, right when iPhones or smartphones started to hit the shelves and be
Mm.
public things. Just before that, you would never think of it. And now we can't leave the house without it. It's
Mm-hmm.
always next to us somewhere. And so that's where I'm like, yes, there's some pretty extreme predictions, like everyone getting a robot, but we got to reflect on just a little while ago, we would never think we'd have these smartphones or these self-driving cars or
Right, right,
all
right.
these things that are now common stance. It's really going to get interesting. And my personal prediction is definitely something with government, like maybe a one world government or none at all. I don't know with that. We're definitely going to lean more towards Aries things when it comes to Neptune and Aries, which is giving us power back to the
Mm.
individual
Mm.
rather than any higher ups. And then Uranus and Gemini is going to really make communication and information, Gemini, education and learning, very unique. I think
Mm.
that universities and colleges are going to be completely revamped, or a lot of them are going to go away altogether.
100%. I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. It's
That's
gonna be
so
wild.
interesting. It
And
is.
it's like I guys, I can't even predict honestly. I can give you those little things, but
Mhm.
it is so erratic when all those three change signs
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
just know it's not going to be what you expect and just ride the wave.
Yeah.
Ride the wave. Embrace change. Don't resist it so hard. What is happening was truly written in the stars, whether you agree with it and like it or not. It's happening for us.
I love that. I love that so much. I always said that too with my book. I hoped and I feel that energy healing, astrology, things like this, formats like that will be taught in school
Oh, yeah.
to kids that are young. They need to know we're an energetic being. Not as an adult, you kind of hit that and you find out when you get your Saturn return, but you find out as a child and you're taught how to work with your energy and you're taught about your astrology and things like that. I just think, how different would our world be? Imagine if that's just common sense. So I've said the same thing. And it's funny, I didn't know that about doctors having to be
Yeah.
astrologers. Well, in Vedic astrology, there are certain days that you should not go to a doctor or get surgery unless you
Yep.
absolutely have to,
Yep.
due to the planets ruling the days. Like,
Yep.
Monday's moon, Tuesday's Mars. And people can look this up, et cetera. Every day. Like in English, we've changed it, but in every other language, it's the planetary day
Yep.
of the week that we have. Sunday, Moon Day,
Yep.
Mercury's Mars Day. It's like every other language has the actual planetary name in it. Sabado, Saturday. Well, we have Saturday, but
Yeah.
so there are certain days still in Vedic
Oh, yeah.
philosophy that you should not try
Yeah.
to avoid medical procedures, things like
Yeah.
that. But I
Yeah.
love, like, can you imagine if everybody had your chart and like that's just how it was, and they're like, oh, this is a favorable day, this is not a favorable day. Like, how amazing would that be?
So cool. And just the acceptance. I got
Mhm.
I got so much hate mail when I did a podcast on Donald Trump's chart, but it was right before the election and I wanted to be fair. I did Kamala Harris's, I did one episode for each, and I was
Okay.
very neutral because I understand the power we hold as podcasters. And I was like, listen, like you make your decision. I just want to give you the astrology of their birth charts because we're lucky we
Mhm.
have them. Oh, man, heaven forbid. But I was like, guys, look at his chart. Like, I understand that he can be a very offensive energy, but if you just understood that he is pure fire, he's a Gemini. So he did, you'd be like, oh, okay. I'm going to choose to, if that energy is too brash and rough for me, I'll just kind of move away from it. But oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting stuff.
I saw a reel where it was like five or six of the world leaders, the male world leaders, are all Gemini right now. Have you seen
Oh,
that? Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
five
some
or
of the big
six are
ones.
all.
You should see it. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my God, this makes so much sense and why it's all so volatile right now."
And Uranus is about to enter Gemini, which would be Uranus
Oh my
conjunct
gosh.
Sun transit, which is radical change. It's like a lightning bolt of,
Mhm.
whoa, I didn't see that coming. Now I got to do this.
Mhm.
I know.
It's
It's very
crazy.
wild. And to that, because some people listen to this and get all worked up and think, oh my God, what do I do? Guys, the astrology is also working with you. Jupiter in Cancer is going to remind you for the next year what makes you feel emotionally safe, satisfied, and secure. Move towards that.
Mhm.
As a human being who's also an astrologer, I have surgeries, I have big things I want to plan, but I don't look at astrology. I go with my gut, right? I
Mhm.
had a surgery a couple years ago and my OBGYN was like, all right, I've got this date, this date, this one. Which one do you want? My gut immediately was like 26th. I have no
Mhm.
idea. It was a new moon in Libra. Libra rules my house of health and balance. And I was having a surgery to bring balance to my endocrine system. It was so cool. I'm like, wow, I just intuitively felt it. So the more you have boundaries with the things that are inorganic, like social media,
Yeah.
or things that just don't feel your soul. You put up,
Yeah.
you can have those things. They're fun. I get it. I love Christian Walker every day. But if you have boundaries, like put your phone on do not disturb starting at sunset. So that things are quiet, you go with it. You don't have all these notifications popping up. That's just
Mhm.
one thing.
Mhm.
Go outside, get nature, play with an animal who's got pure energy, whatever it is for you. If you just stay connected to that, you don't need to look at astrology all the time. You're made of stars. You are astrology.
Mhm.
You just need
Mhm.
reminders sometimes.
And I love how you kept saying it's a weather forecast. So
That's it.
it's like you still have the ability to choose how you want to handle it.
Yeah. And with the weather forecast of the current political climate of the world climate, I would say the biggest, if this is all astrology, if this is all a weather forecast, I'm like, hey guys, it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain for like a whole year. What would you be like? Okay, man, I like the sun, but if it's gonna rain for a year, I'm gonna go buy some nice rain boots. I'm gonna go get an umbrella. Apply that theory to the very erratic astrology, which to me
Mm.
would say, okay, if things are going to be boop, 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 I need to anchor myself in things that are real and right in front of me, my family, my friends, my pets, my land, things that just pull me back to earth and remind me what doesn't change, things that stay stable, certain,
Well, the
secure.
only thing that doesn't change is our soul. Everything else will change. Everything else will fade, die, change. It's the only truth.
Feed
So,
your soul.
yeah, the biggest thing is anchored to that energy within.
Yeah.
I
Then you're
love
good.
that.
Then you can just enjoy the
Totally.
show.
While we're like screaming in the ride, like, it's fun.
Everything's fine. It's burning down around you. You're like, God, nope, the moon's in Taurus. It's anchored.
Well, how can people find you? I could talk to you for another hour, but I know that it's been a long conversation where we've touched on so many things. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom on astrology. It's fascinating. It's fabulous. How can people
Thank
find you
you.
and work with you?
Yeah, I'm at astrology-lounge.com. I do have social media, but I really don't go on it anymore. I haven't posted to my Instagram in over a year, and it feels so good.
I
But
would
I
look
am on there.
after.
You
Yeah,
can find the
yeah.
podcast, The Astrology Lounge. Just pop it into Google. We pop up. We're everywhere. And follow along. Subscribe to our newsletter. It's for free. I send you something, I don't know, once every other week, giving you an update on Twin Moon Ranch. Our goal is to eventually have 12 Airbnbs that are each themed with the Zodiac sign and
Wow.
just welcome people to genuinely just have an experience. That's it. Come play with our pugs, come pick a tomato and just chill. There is no magical spiritual retreat I can give you guys that you already don't have within yourself. You can just come take in the sights and the sounds of Central Texas.
I love that. That is the coolest idea. That is the
Thank
coolest
you.
idea. Zodiac themed
Yeah,
Airbnbs. Wow.
right.
I would love to see what each one looks like and then, but you don't tell us and we have to guess.
Oh my, as a little fun game, like
It would be
which
so
house is
fun.
this?
Yeah.
I'm down for that. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. I would love to see them and then have to, and that would just tell me how, if I've gone better at astrology or not.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. Thank you for that. I'm
Oh my
doing it.
gosh, of course. Well, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It was
Thank you.
so fun to talk to you, and you
Me
always have
too.
so much to share. And I think a lot of people, it's always fun to listen because not only are we listening about our own sign, but we're thinking about all the relationships and the people that we've had in our life, in our families and friends and things like that. So I think hopefully was really enlightening for people. Um, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening, for sharing space with us. This was awesome.
So, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please share this with your friends and your family as well. We all have family in our life that are one of these signs, so hopefully they'll get something out of it. And it always helps if you leave a comment or a review from wherever you're listening to help share the show with others. And so, for those of you that are newer to the show, please like and subscribe. Then you'll be notified of all of the new episodes that come out every week, every Friday. And we are now also available to watch on video on YouTube on my channel at cat_fowler.com, which is in the show notes. Or you can also watch the video on Spotify. And we're on audio everywhere else podcasts are found, including Apple Podcasts and literally anywhere podcasts are found. So thank you so much again for listening to the show this week. I'm your host, Kat Fowler, and I'm wishing you lots of peace, love, joy, and self-discovery of who you are as a soul through many different lenses, like astrology from today's episode and meditation and anything that really lights you up. So enjoy the rest of your day and week, and I will see you on the next episode.